Grand Rising, good people. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How you doing? Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity with Coach Reyes. We're going to continue our conversation that we started yesterday with 99% of the Bible never happened. Didn't get into all the conversations that I wanted to get into yesterday concerning this subject matter. Make that smaller so you can see the comments. So we're going to continue our conversation. Hopefully get some good conversations up here. I was going to talk about a different subject matter today, but I think I want to hold that off to tomorrow. I ain't thinking I'm holding it off to tomorrow. Hopefully everybody's having a great day. It feels like 106 degrees here in San Antonio. So let's keep the air conditioning on. And everybody stay safe from the heat wave. But we look forward to having guests. But before I get started, let me thank everybody who supports the channel, whether you subscribe, you're a subscription holder, a membership, whatever you do to support this channel, friending the channel, liking the channel, all those sorts of things, sharing videos, doing super chats. If you do a super chat, of course, on TikTok, on Facebook, YouTube, I'm definitely going to read those. So I want to thank everybody for being here and everybody who supports the channel. But today we're going to continue our conversation from yesterday about how 99% of the things that happen, that are claimed to have happened in the Bible, have never happened. We just don't see it. There's no historical evidence to prove any of these things definitely happened. And when people come up, they have an option of picking from any of the prompts that are up there. And today I'm going to be a little bit more stricter and not as patient as I was yesterday. If a person is coming up and they're not talking about the subject matter, then they will be either given an opportunity to talk about the subject matter or they will be removed from the conversation. I am only talking about the subject matter today. We're not going off into tangents and shit like we did yesterday. That's one of the reasons why we're having this conversation today. A repeat of it. This is why this is day 2 of this conversation, because I'm not going to go off and not going to allow people to go off in tangents. So if you do want to come up and talk about this situation, any of the things that are prompted up here, stick to the subject matter. I don't care about your other stuff. Just talk about the subject matter. And while we're waiting to see if anybody, let me put the link. So we're streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and the TikTok. Oh, from India. Hello. Got people from India. We get people all over the world. I love hearing about where people are coming in from. This is a huge cop out that people like to use in order to not understand how the Bible contradicts itself. When Team Hype TV says the Bible is full of allegorical stories, point blank, end of stories. No, actually, the Bible was believed to be a literal history book. The people who wrote this book thought that those things literally happened. Just because people try to change it today, that doesn't mean a damn thing. Just because one part says that the stories of Abraham was allegorical, the story can be believed to be a literal story, but also used as an allegory. It doesn't have to be one or the other when it comes to things being allegorical. So that should cop out for not recognizing that this book is just a whole bunch of lies, telling of a history, creating history. Just it's people lying about their history. It's a valid question by Rupert, even though he already knows the answer to this. What is the 1% that happened according to your research? So the 1% of things that you will find that the Bible actually is right. Did the city of Jerusalem exist? Yes. The kingship from the time frame of Hezekiah, those people existing as kings, most of them, yes. Did the Romans, the Greeks, Were there Egyptians? Yes. Naming of people groups? Sure. Most of them. And that's about it. The naming of certain places, the naming of certain people groups, and certain people after the 7th century BCE. Well, not the 7th century, 8th century BCE. Those people, sure. Anybody prior to any person prior to the 8th century BCE, there's zero to very little proof that they exist, and no definitive proof that they exist. And here's one of the others little cop-outs. Why are you attacking the Bible out of all the books in the world today? I'm just curious. Now, I shouldn't say it like that. I don't know what your rationale is to that. I'm not attacking the Bible, first of all. I am breaking down the truth about the Bible. And because that's the book that I learned from. That's the book that I grew up in. So if you want to find someone who is breaking down and showing how the Quran is an incorrect book, then you can find those people. Or any other book, you can find those people. People get all in a tizzy about somebody talking about their little Bible. Yeah, Galatians says that it's an allegory, that it talks about Paul saying it's an allegory, but it's Paul, first of all. Paul never existed. But we're talking about Paul, and we're talking about some people thousands of years later trying to make changes. Yeah, no problem, Jeremiah. I know I was I started out, because usually I get that from some condescending person, but I should not have went that route with you initially without understanding your meaning. So that would mean Islam and Judaism is false since they validate them from the people. Yeah. Yeah, Islam and Judaism are just as false. The Abrahamic religions are come from a false history. So looking for a conversation. If anybody think that they can defend the Bible and prove that these things actually happen. If not, we'll just keep on reading comments. Can't read them all. Can't read them all. So when most Christians look at these things, they just accept it because that's what they've been taught to believe. Even though they've gone and learned otherwise, they still believe it. Especially when you talk about things like Noah's flood. They will still believe that Noah's flood happened, knowing good and damn well that the earth has never been completely flooded from every mountaintop being flooded for over a year. That is a virtual impossibility. And let's say it was possible. Even if it was possible, there will be remnants that will demonstrate that all over the world. But there's not. There's not. People like to say there's a universal flood story. No, there's not. A lake flood story and a river flood story is completely and wholeheartedly different from a worldwide flood story. Jeffrey.
Hey.
Wait a minute. I'm turning the volume up.
Hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Yeah.
So
are you a believer?
The Bible doesn't call us to prove anything.
Okay. So the question is I don't care about your theology. If you're not here to try to prove these things after they happen, then why you come on my show? That's not the conversation. I don't care about your theology. The Bible doesn't tell us to prove. And actually it does. The Bible tells you that you should be no, the Bible tells you actually that you should always be prepared to defend it.
Your great grandfather was alive.
Yes, I can. But your Bible actually says that you are supposed to be always prepared to defend your Bible and to be nice about it. So you sure about you ain't supposed to prove it? Because it says you're supposed to be able to prove it.
Defending it isn't going through every single line by line and proving it's that's an impossibility. It was 2,000 to 5,000 years ago. It's like science can't even do that. And you're saying things like, we know there was never any flood.
So here's the thing.
How do you know that?
Because the geological record would demonstrate that there was a worldwide flood. But
according to science.
Oh, so
which is flawed.
But you're appealing to magic.
No.
Yes, you are. You're appealing to magic. You're saying that some magical God made enough water to cover the planet when there is not enough water to cover the planet over to the highest mountaintop. So you're applying to magic. You're applying to magic.
Well, what is your world?
That doesn't matter. You're applying to magic. We're stating facts here.
It does matter.
We're stating facts. The facts are that there's not enough water on the planet, in the air, below the planet to cover the planet above the highest mountaintop. That's a geological, that's a earth fact. So in order for you to say that the flood happened, you have to apply magic. Yeah. That's the way you do it. Run. I told you, today is a different day, y'all. It's 106 degrees outside. I ain't got no patience. Shawnee. Shawnee.
No, I don't want to.
Oh, okay. No problem. Guess Shawnee hit it by accident. So this dude want to come up here and try to talk about some spiritual mumbo jumbo. He want to apply magic as the reason for everything, and we should just follow magic. You give him the science, and all of a sudden, he want to go back to magic again. Black Cat, you there?
Yes, sir. I really just came to tell you, what I'm saying? I really believe what you're saying is correct. Because if you really apply that with the courtroom, like literally the courtroom, then you understand that it's all bullshit. Like, the people playing in our face, you know what I'm saying? And I respect what you're doing here, and I gotta follow you, but every time you really get to the bottom and gritty of it, they run away.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just like he ran. Because I'm not doing theology today. We just talking about facts.
But hey, do you believe that the Bible ain't nothing but a modern day predictive programming book, and it's correlating with the courts, like how they run the courts?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Okay, so basically, who the only person that they feel like on this earth can judge you for your sins or your crimes you committed?
So you're talking about a judge?
Judge, right? Judge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who they say in the Bible the only person that could judge us? God, right?
Well, at the end of the day, God. But there are judgments. There are other people within the Bible that they say can judge you. Like, that's what you had your Pharisees, Sadducees, all these people. You had your prophets, your leaders. They were to sit in judgment for certain things. The Levitical priests were to go and judge whether or not a person had committed manslaughter or murder. So the whole idea of the modern day take that only God can judge me, that's more of a modern day take of people who don't really read this book and understand it.
No, it's more on if they tell you all rise, right? Like if the judge tell you all rise or the clerk of court, you basically dead. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, that's
so it's like
I appreciate you.
Vocabulary. If you look up the vocabulary of how to speak in court, it correlates with the Bible, bro. I'm not lying to you.
I don't think
like the simplest thing is we gotta understand we can't fall for the
okay. I'm going against what I said I was going to talk about today. I'm not going to get distracted into other things. I'm staying I'm staying right here. All right. I can easily get distracted with that one. I'm not going to do it. I'm staying right here. We're talking about this subject because yesterday I went all off to the left.
Yeah.
So we're gonna stay.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, OG, but you know what I'm saying, I just have to kind of put it in the perspective because if anything is coming from the oppressors, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not going that route, bro. So unless we talking about this right here, that's all we talking about.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I appreciate you though.
Hey, you can drop me down?
Yeah, all right, I got you. We're not doing that today. Today, I'm only talking about the subject matter. I got all into the left and right the day before. We're not doing that shit. Brother Brandon. Wait a minute. Hold on. I hit the wrong button.
Hey, how you doing, man?
There you go.
I always begin everything in the name of the Creator. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I begin everything I do in the name of the Creator of the heavens and the earth, bearing witness that there's one God. So I hope this is on topic because I see you didn't change the title. You said 99% of what's in the Bible is true. So you didn't change the title. So
I didn't say it's true.
No, my bad. You said 99. My bad. I stand corrected.
Yeah.
99% of what is in the Bible is false, and 1%.
Yeah.
So what's the one? Well, I don't want to ask. I don't want to start off with a question. I'll just try to talk about what I believe is true from the facts. We talked about the book of Genesis 15:13, and I actually earlier in the morning actually put something in the chat so I could remember. And what I actually saw when I looked up different Bibles is one Bible said that not only did the Bible prophecy that the descendants of Abraham would be enslaved, it said enslaved and mistreated for 400 years. So I think nobody better fits that description than the so-called American black man and woman.
Okay, you talked about that yesterday, and once again, the American black man and woman were not enslaved for chattel slavery for 400 years.
But I think you missed. I just said two things.
And
I said
and
that
you went in, but when in the prophecy that in Genesis, when it talks about that in Genesis, when it talks about that in Deuteronomy, it is talking about that they are literally enslaved for 400 years, not a combination of mental slavery, financial slavery, oppression, but straight up chattel slavery.
I think the term is relative. You know what I'm saying? I think you're crunching the term to fit a definition, but we don't have to debate that.
No, I think words mean words.
Hold on. No, words mean words. But again, I put it in the chat early this morning because I saw it. I looked up Genesis 15:13 because I wanted to make sure that I cited it right, and I was pretty on topic. And it said clearly, one interpretation said that know of a surety that your seed will be in a strange land and will serve those people and be mistreated for 400 years. It said slavery and mistreated. So that's why I made the point that I said nobody better fit. But we don't have to stay on 15:13. I think that you mentioned it earlier. A lot of different coaches did have a Noah story. I also put that in the chat. A lot of other coaches have a Noah story. I just think that it wasn't a flood in the proportion that they made it appear like the whole earth was flooded. I don't think that's the case. Even though there's 57,255,000 square miles of water, and there's 139,685,000 square miles of water, which is almost two-thirds. The planet is almost two-thirds water because we got 196,940,000 square miles. So we're almost two-thirds water. So it could happen conceivably, but I don't think. Hold on, I don't.
It can't.
Well, all right, okay. So you don't think the Earth can't be okay? But I don't think it happened. I don't think it happened like that. I think the story. So I think the story is primarily metaphorical. I think it portends.
Okay, so what on this list do you think actually happened? Because that's what I'm talking about.
I believe like I told you the other day, I think 75% of it is prophecy. So you have in the book of Ezekiel.
That ain't what I'm talking about today. That's not what I'm talking about today. What do you think on
dealing
this
with truth?
Actually
If
happened?
I say 70, I just said I'm giving you my numbers. 75% is prophetic. So if it's prophetic, hold on, brother. Hold on. No. If it's prophetic, Dad, I'm gonna let you talk because I see you ain't gonna let me talk.
Because you're going 20 miles to go to. What on this list, if it's prophetic, that has happened?
All right? Let me see the list. Let me see
on this list.
Creation, Adam and Eve. That's not dealing with, and I'm glad you got a list composed. That's not dealing with Adam and Eve is not dealing with the original people. That's dealing with the new man on the planet. That's dealing with the making of the Caucasian man. How do we know that? Because even in the story, you see other people who have nothing to do with the lineage of Adam and Eve. Those are the pre-Adamites. We
What
are
does that?
pre.
How do you determine they were Caucasians based on Genesis? Because there's nothing about
Because when you cross-reference it over with Holy Quran, right? The Holy Quran has an Adam and Eve story as well.
This
And
ain't got nothing to do with the Quran.
You asked me about, but I know, brother. You asked me, how do I know? I can only give you my references. Now, if you want to box my references in to just the Bible,
Okay,
I can't
so
do
you saying that according to the Quran, they white.
I'm saying that, yes, sir. I'm saying that Adam and Eve is dealing with the Caucasian people. And I'm also saying that when you're dealing with the Bible is only unpacking between 6,000 and 7,000 years of history.
Okay.
We are people that have been here since forever. We have no birth record. Dr. Khalid Muhammad, may he rest in peace, who was a scholar in his own right, said that we have no birth record.
You repeating the same thing. Start repeating the same thing. Now, what we don't have, here's the thing. You like to go.
I'm letting you talk. You don't have to mute me. I'll be quiet.
No, bro, because you drown
I'm
on
just trying to make a point. You could talk.
You drown on, and I told you I don't do all this preaching and stuff. You do just make a point.
But if you ask me a question,
no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Let me tell you. This is just me giving you advice, my guy. If I was a young man trying to listen to you, trying to get some information, all I would feel like is I'm being preached at. That's it. The way you put your information out there, it just feels like somebody just want to preach and just go on and on and on and on. Because the fact of the matter is, you said that's the beginning of white people. When anthropology shows that white people been on the planet since around about 8,000 years, which the Adam and Eve story is around 6,000 years.
Right.
So it don't match. I want something to be something.
Well, there's stuff that was published in the National Geographic. I read it myself, where it said that the white man has been on this planet between 6,000 and 6,600 years. So you got different references, and this is National Geographic. This isn't Nation of Islam. So, and all you have to do is, I'm gonna try my best not to preach. All you have to do is close your eyes and ask yourself, where's the white man native to? At the very best, he's native to Europe. He's not native to anywhere else on the planet. At the very best, he's native to Europe.
Okay, so if he's native to Europe,
at the very best,
the landmass that is described in Genesis is in the Persian Gulf. So how is the native European story starting in the Persian Gulf?
Because according to Supreme Wisdom Lessons, they were a made people for a particular reason. Look up the Yaqub story. I
already know the Yaqub story.
Okay, so I can just all I can do is give you my reference. You can take it or leave it. But
no, I'm good. I'm good. I'll leave the Yaqub story.
Okay, no, I'm just saying.
I thought that was one of the most ridiculous stories I've ever heard.
Well, I mean, if all you have to do is write down to right now, we say they're a grafted people. Study their world. They run this world right now. They've been given respite. They run this world.
That's going into a bunch of bullshit. I ain't going into that.
I'm dealing with.
I don't care about what's going on today. Don't care about what people are doing today.
What goes on today?
That's not the conversation today. Today, the conversation is about this right now.
Do you want proof, or do you want to just stay locked into your preconceived notion?
Dude, that's not proof. What people are doing today is not proof.
Modern time,
6,000 years ago.
Modern time, you just said that the Yaqub, you just made a statement, and I was responding to that. You said that Yaqub's story is one of the most ridiculous things you ever heard, right? And I said to you in response that if you study this world right down to today, you will find proof of the Yaqub story. That's what I said. That was my response.
So anyway,
it's only ridiculous to people who are locked into the scholarship of this world and they believe everything they've been taught, even though they say they're radical. Your references turn out to be anthropologists of this world. We be locked into the scholarship of this world, and
So
we can't see.
You're appealing to magic. You're appealing to magic, just like the first guy I talked to. You're appealing to
Okay.
some magic. I'm appealing
Okay,
to
I
things
mean,
that
I
can be.
respect your opinion. I respect
I'm
your
looking
opinion.
at you. It kills me when people want to look at science today and say, "Oh, you appealing to the anthropologists and science today." These are things that are measured, they're repeatable, they're observed, and they're peer reviewed. But y'all want to jump to magic. The
I'm not jumping.
mysterious.
I'm jumping to
Out of the
science.
7
I'm
scientists,
jumping to science. I'm jumping to
Yaku was a
science.
scientist, and he took some people and he made their skin white, and then he taught them how to be evil and all that kind of stuff.
See, you don't even. Well, I don't want to go off into that too much, because I would just say study it and listen to the scholarship on it. That's all I can tell you, because I can't make you believe what I believe, and I'm not here to do that. All I can say to you is this in response is that they have genetically engineered food. They genetically engineered. I'm telling you about a world of.
I don't care about what's the world today. Genetic modified food. We know that there are GMOs all over the place, and really, that's mainly in America.
You cut me off at every sentence. Not only
you can't stay to the subject matter,
because I'm trying to prove you. You'll make a statement. You'll make a statement that something is ridiculous, and then I will present the proof. Everything I say is rooted in proof. So again, I'll go down the list, and then if you have an issue with something I say, then it is what it is. So now Noah's flood, we talked about that. I think that's metaphorical. The Tower of Babel, that deals with the confusion of languages all over the world and how we all speak these different tongues.
So, do you believe that happened?
I think it's metaphorical. I think it's metaphorical.
Okay, what do you think actually happened?
See, when I say something is metaphorical, that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It just means that there's a different way of understanding it. So instead of taking it literally, saying that there's some tower and then people just speaking some spooky tongue, it's dealing with the different languages and how different people all over the world talk different languages. That's what that's touching on. The Tower of Babel.
I understand what metaphors are, but what I'm saying is that people, when they wrote these stories, they believe these things literally happened.
No, that's not the way we were taught.
I'm asking you,
that's not the way we were taught. That's not the way we were taught.
Is there anything on this list you think that actually happened? Because I don't care about metaphors and analogies. That's not the conversation today. The conversation is 99% of the Bible never happened. So it's not about metaphors. Can you
when you're dealing with like the Moses story, when you're dealing with Joseph in Egypt, this is all prophecy. This is dealing with what's going on now. This is going on with what's happening now and what's going to happen in the future.
Bruh,
Scripture.
I can't talk to you today. I can't do you today, bro. Because you just don't get it. You don't get what I'm doing today. All right. This is about the fact that these people literally believe that all these things happen. I'm not talking about theologies, prophecies, and all that. I'm not getting into all that today. This is just these things from a historical and scientific standpoint. Did they happen? And that's not where you at today. And I can respect that. But
scripture is three-dimensional, brother. That's all I can tell you. It's three-dimensional. It's relevant to the past, present, and future. So what happened yesterday?
Have a good day, man. Have a good day. You're just not getting it. I'm what the fuck? What the fuck, Brandon? We was decent yesterday. And I let you go on and on into all the same stuff you were saying yesterday, which is why today I said that I'm not going into all this extra shit. We're just talking about the subject matter. If I was a Christian, I'd be like, Jesus Christ. Trying to talk about the subject matter. I ain't trying to talk about all that shit. Because you're going to believe your three-dimensional scripture stuff on your own. You can't argue someone's faith. I'm not trying to argue faith today. I'm not trying to argue your theologies. I never try to argue your theology. This channel is basically about what you can prove and what you can't prove. Not what you think, not what some pastor or imam have taught you to think on some spiritual plane that you can't even prove the spiritual plane exists. Shit driving me crazy today. Brandon, you up there? Okay, Brandon, you in the back studio and you talking. Unless I bring you onto the stage, no one can hear you. And I don't even know what you're saying. I just see your mouth moving. And unless you can talk about facts, historical, scientific, then there's no reason for us to talk today. Because I'm not talking theologies. And I'm not talking about what's going on today and this prophecy for this and Moses. That don't even make sense to me. Moses is a prophecy for today. But I'm not getting into that. It's not conversation. Did these things happen? Plain and simple. It's a yes or no. And then why? What's the evidence of them happening? We're going to try this again.
You talking to me?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thutmose and Kemet. Who is that?
Thutmose?
Yes. Thutmose and of Kemet. Who is that?
Thutmose. Well, there are a few pharaohs named Thutmose who were
the Moses.
In Kemet.
The Moses of the Bible. The Moses of the Bible. Is any of those Thutmoses that individual?
No.
So you believe Moses was a completely fictional character as well?
Oh yeah,
completely
fictional character.
All right. Well, I mean, if you believe, so you believe everything in the Bible is fictional. I mean, I don't really.
Well,
1%. There's a Utnapishtim. There's an Utnapishtim of the Sumerian texts that strongly mirrors the Noah and the flood story.
Yeah.
As you have admitted earlier, you referred to earlier, a lot of different cultures have a story similar to Moses, to Noah. You don't believe it's a flood, but it's similarities. So there's a lot of things that corroborate a lot of these stories.
Well, I wouldn't say corroborate those stories because, in effect, the Noah story is written thousands of years after the story of Utnapishtim, Atrahasis, and Zulasudra.
Right.
So
if you get a good Bible,
they're not corroborating the biblical story.
I'll take a screenshot of it and I'll send it to you another time because I'm in my car right now.
So how are they corroborating the Noah story if they're written hundreds and 1,000 years prior?
I was getting ready to show you the receipt. There's certain Bibles you can get, and they will tell you that, for example, the Noah story comes from the Sumerian texts. It actually comes from that. So I will screenshot that. I have a good Bible. I had about 30 years. I will screenshot it from that Bible and I'll hit it up in the chat or whatever. So I don't know if you allow screenshots in your chat, but if you do, I'll send it up to the chat. So
I don't think the program that I use does allow for that.
Okay.
I don't think it does. So it's not a preference that I can choose.
If I figure something out, I'll find a way.
But you're agreeing with me.
Well, I'm agreeing with you in some part. I mean, I'm not here to be in total disagreement with you, but I do believe and know that a lot of this stuff is history. I'm trying to present the receipts that corroborate it, and I will, but that's all I can do. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm not here to.
I don't think the story of Zulasudra and Utnapishtim, none of their stories actually happened either.
Oh, okay, well, damn.
So these were because even when they're telling their stories as if these things happened a few thousand years before they actually wrote the stories down. Now, I do think that there was a flood of a in the general area. We have proof that there was floods in the general areas, and then they created the big fish story about the flood. Right. But there was
you got to keep him
worldwide.
You got to keep in mind, Brother Renz, that when people are narrating, sometimes when people are narrating an event and they have a limited knowledge, they're gonna give it to. So it might sound like it might look to Utnapishtim like the whole world is coming to a close, right? And in reality, it's just the area he knows. But to him, that's the world. So it could
And
be that kind of party. But that
I
doesn't make
agree.
it false. That doesn't make it false. That just means that his view, his scope is limited. You know what I'm saying? That's why Malcolm said travel broadens perspective. You need to
I,
travel and see the bigger
I
world. So
I
I
can
just want to make.
agree. I can agree to that.
Mhm.
And then the problem comes in when they started saying that this God, the god Ea, came down to Atrahasis and told him of this flood coming. And Atrahasis and he told him how to build a boat and all this kind of stuff. I don't have a problem with
Yeah,
there being a localized
yeah,
flood and them thinking
right,
that the whole world is being flooded. The
right.
problem comes when they start saying that this god Ea came and told them they built this boat. They put all these animals and all these other people on the boat.
Was it E or Enki?
Well, in the Epic of Gilgamesh is Ea, who is Enki,
Okay,
same person. In
okay,
the
okay,
story of
okay,
Utnapishtim,
okay,
it is Enki.
okay. I got it confused. I get it confused because it's been so long ago since I actually read those books and those texts and stuff. But yeah. So it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack, and I just, in my humble opinion, I don't think it's just like outright lies. I think that people record events. I think Sodom and Gomorrah happened. I think it has a historical component to it, and you don't want to hear about prophecy today, so I won't go into that. But I
No,
think there was a catastrophic event, and I think that not only is it a historical element to it, but I think also it has a message. It has a spiritual message as well. That's what makes it so potent when you really get into certain scripture. They have a deep
no,
message that
no,
comes
no,
with the
no,
story.
no. Sodom and Gomorrah, there was before the actual timing of the Sodom and Gomorrah story, there are two different places on the Sea of Galilee the
Yeah,
Dead Sea,
right, right, right.
where scientifically we can see that it was most like an airburst from a meteorite that happened over these two different areas, which created
Okay,
the event, kind of like
right.
the event that happened in the Soviet Union some years ago.
Yeah, with the
And not
churn.
Chernobyl, it was a different one.
Oh,
I think
oh, okay,
it's
okay.
like it's TS something. I can't say the word.
Yeah, yeah, you
Way
ain't
out
gonna
in
say it.
this was out in Siberia, but
Oh, okay, okay.
it was most likely an airburst event, and then they created the God narrative, the Lot story narrative. These narratives were then created to show that it was God's judgment, because the ancient people thought that if something happened in the sky, there's a God that's doing the judgment of it.
Right,
So
right.
could it be based on some some natural event? Sure, but all the storybooking around it, hell no.
The only reason why I question that theory is because these stories have a way of unpacking wisdom under the story, which makes me
Well, I don't
believe
find
that it
any.
comes. Well, when you look at the story, when you look at what they did with the story of Lot and his wife, Lot's wife turned around, according to the story. Lot's wife turned around, and when she turned around, she turned into a pillar of salt. There's a message. There's a message to be wrought from that.
Sure,
If one
you can get a message
contemplates,
out of that.
right?
I've preached the messages out of that one.
Okay,
But
there
you
you
but
go.
you know what you never hear preached is about how he went up there and had sex with his two daughters, and they built great nations out of the incest of him having sex with his two daughters.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy things in
Yeah,
the scripture
they
that
they, they
that don't
skipped those parts,
that
and then
don't add up.
they skipped the mirror story of Judges 19 when the man does give his concubine to the people, and then they rape her till she die. They skip all them stories.
Yeah,
So
but I think
there's
they're
this sick
in
ass
there.
shit.
That's why they was condemned. I think that the condemnation from the creator is why is I think that stuff is what inspired the condemnation of the creator. I don't think anybody ducks those stories. I
No,
think
they
they
duck
talk
them.
about the
They don't
late.
talk
No, they
about that.
talk about I mean, it's you talking about if we was to believe that story, right, and take it literally, you're talking about a dude that you talking about God came with two of his angels, and Lot offered his daughters to the crowd, and they like, nah,
Mm-hmm.
nah, nah. Nah, bro. Nah, we don't want that. We want them. So that's like debauchery on steroids, bro.
Not if
That's,
you understand, not if you understand the culture of the people of that day, it's not. And that's the problem with it being taught in the churches with the blind side of, with the rose-colored lenses of gods. Because in the ancient cultures of that time frame, when a stranger enter into a city, your first thing you're supposed to do is go and present yourself to the leaders of that town. When you don't do that, then the townspeople see you as being disrespectful to them. And so they go, so them wanting those two men only is more about humiliating them because they didn't respect the town leadership. So when Lot offered his daughters, they weren't interested in his daughters because the daughters hadn't disrespected the town. It was those two who came into the town who disrespected the town.
Okay. So then you think that, so then you think that happened then? You think that there was an incident that happened that's commensurate with that biblical story?
I don't think that there was an incident in Sodom and Gomorrah that commensurate that story. That's just a known cultural thing that lasted all the way up until like that was still going on in the 1000 CE time frame. That when
I'm just saying, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that when you enter, and it still kind of goes on in a sense, but that was just a cultural thing around, and many cultures around the world had that exact same cultural idea that you present yourself to the leaders of the town when you first come in.
But doesn't what you just taught me? See, that's why I like sometimes going on these different things, because you learn stuff. You stay a student, you learn. I never heard that in my life, but sometimes when you hear the truth, it resonates with you. It makes sense what you're saying, right? I'm a vet the information, but it makes sense. But wouldn't that story serve? Because all we can do is corroborate or contradict. Doesn't that story corroborate the fact that the story actually happened? The fact that the Bible captured the culture of the time? Doesn't that kind of corroborate the fact that this may have happened, or that there was a chain of events that happened very similar to the way the Bible reported it?
I mean, no, that's just like we make a movie today, The Piano, and does that mean that actually happened? But we know people fall in love with each other, and somebody does a rom-com. Yeah. It doesn't mean that the actual thing happened. It's just it's a motif of storytelling. Just like we still got motifs.
That's true. But you could also, when they say, sometimes they'll say, this story is loosely based on the truth, and then you might get something like like, I don't know if you saw the movie with the Detroit drug dealers. They say, but most of this shit probably happened. So like you have truth sometimes mixed with myth. You have things, it could be mixed up. But I think that the scribes of antiquity, they were trying to, I humbly believe, they were trying to tell a story that would make some kind of sense for, spiritual purposes. I don't think they just was running around just freestyling, because the story without having a spiritual significance, it makes no sense. If the Bible was just a history book, a backward history book, it would be irrelevant to today. What makes these scriptures?
Here's the thing: you can't think about today. Think about it in the time frame that the book was being written. The time frame the book is being written, it would give an understanding as to why did the Israelites consider the Moabites and the Ammonites distant cousins of theirs. So you get to the end of the story, all of that other stuff was just to get to the end of the story so that Lot can have sex with his two daughters. The first night they got him drunk, he had sex with his daughter. The second night is all on him. You allow them to get you drunk again and have sex with your other daughter. They produced the Ammonites and they produced the Moabites, according to their story. So the whole goal is just to show this is why the Israelites are cousins to the Moabites and the Ammonites, because of Lot, who was the nephew of Abraham, who was the father of our religion. It's just showing connection, but they use this convoluted story to show that connection.
Okay, all right. So, and you believe that all of that. So, what's the 1%? Just to keep on the bill. What's the 1%? Because I'm not gonna lie to you, I believe most of it is prophecy. I didn't say all of it, but most of it. So that's my.
I'm gonna answer this one, and then I'm gonna let.
But what's the one? What's the 1%? Yeah, I'm gonna let somebody else get on the mic.
Yeah, I'm gonna
What's
answer
the
this and let somebody
1%?
else pick it on.
And I think somebody hit it in the chat. What's the 1% that you believe is the truth?
So the only 1% of true things that we can find in the Bible, any person before Hezekiah, that none of those, we have no evidence of those people, or some circumstantial evidence of a person.
Okay.
Anybody after now, some of the kings and people who are listed after Hezekiah, we know that most of those people existed. Doesn't mean the event, but the people.
And one more thing, and I'll shut my mouth and listen. And the Bible and Jesus, isn't his body supposed to be encased in Jerusalem?
Whose body?
The body of Jesus Christ. Isn't it supposed to be
no
encased? Okay, I read that the body of the Christ.
Well, let me put it like that. As far as Christians and Jews are concerned, no. According to the Bible, no. Islam, because y'all don't think that Isa was the son of God. The Quran may say it, but I don't know. I don't know the Quran that well. But now places that it names like Jerusalem. Yeah, we know Jerusalem existed. We know that Egypt existed. So when it mentions places, sure, those places could have existed. They exist, most of them. So that's your 1%. Some places and a few people. But certainly not
all right, thank you.
The majority of events. Brother. No problem.
Thank you, brother. I'm going to listen now. All right, thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. I don't know if some of you guys are still on hold over here on the TikTok, but we're going to find out. I don't know what order. I know this person was earlier. Sometimes you gotta wait. You gotta be patient. I'm gonna have to give me a clock, like timing people. 20 minutes. That's all we do. Oh shit. Okay. Hello, James. Hello, James. James. James Thomas.
Yeah.
Okay. You there?
Yes.
All right. Are you over 21?
I'm 63.
All right. You a believer in the Bible?
I believe in spirituality.
Do you believe in the Bible, though?
Yeah, to a degree.
Do you think that any of the things that happened that I listed, anything in the Bible actually happened? The 99%, that's the statement. 99% of the Bible never happened. I listed some things on here. Do you think any of those things actually happened?
In my opinion, maybe the first one, creation.
So you think that 4004 BCE is when Adam and Eve and all that stuff was created?
I'm not sure about Adam and Eve. It don't look like it started with them two people.
Okay, so that's part of the creation, one of the creation stories. So you think the world was created in 6 days? The universe created in 6 days?
Oh, well, God is powerful. I can't say what he can't do. But in my opinion, I'm not sure. That's why I think more about spirituality than religion.
Well, in order for you to have your spirituality, you got to have a basis for it. And that basis comes from the religion. So although people try to separate it, you still got to have a basis to believe on. So if this God created, he claims that he created it in 6 days in around 4004 BCE. So do you think the universe is only 6,000 years old?
No, I believe it's older than that.
Then why would you believe the creation story?
Because we had to come. I believe we had to come from somewhere.
So why didn't you choose somebody else's story? Why the Bible story?
Well, I'm actually a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I've been there for 31 years.
Congratulations.
Oh, it's nothing I did. I just listened to somebody for a change.
Okay. Well, congratulations. But so is that why you are attached to, you have to believe in the creator of the Bible?
I have to start believing in me.
Okay.
And that's saying that they believe man created God or God created man, one or the other. Man ain't that smart. And I'm sitting there listening to you talking to these individuals on your little podcast, and it's bothersome. But see, I can't have that conversation.
Why?
Because I believe that today life ain't about being right, it's about getting right. And everybody want to be right.
I don't mind being wrong, but you got to be able to show evidence that against the information that I've already procured. So, well, here's a question. If this is bothersome to you, then why did you want to come up on my show?
I was listening to you. I like what you're talking about.
Okay.
Really, I do.
You're confusing me.
I find you commendable, brother. I do. I find you commendable. I don't take sides. I just try to follow what sounds good to me.
Okay.
I'm from Chicago.
All
I got 23 of us. I had 23 brothers and sisters. My mom had kids by 3 different men, and those men had other kids.
Okay.
7.
We're not doing this. We only talking about the subject matter today, James. No
All
disrespect.
right, I got you.
But
That's
let me
why I be quiet.
let me put this bug in your ear, then, James. If I understand you've been a part of Alcohol Anonymous for 31 years, and part of that program is believing in something bigger than yourself, right?
All right.
So there are other traditions that have a far better belief system than the Bible, than anything from the Bible. For instance, the Tao. The Tao just talks about getting in contact and connection with the way and the natural flow of the universe. It almost has a creator being, but it really doesn't. But it almost speaks of the universe as being that creator being, nature being that creative being, because everything in nature is transmuted from one energy source to another energy source, and is never ending. And it doesn't judge you, but accepts you for exactly who you are.
See, that's why I wanted to connect with you. I wanted to go a little further with this,
Mm-hmm.
but I like where you at, and I needed some more information so I could go looking a little more deeper. Because it's an interesting conversation. I mean, I wish we as a people could do this often, more often.
Yeah, I would even suggest you studying Buddhism before Christianity, before the Bible, because that is truly about self-awareness and stripping away the things of greed and want and desire.
Selfishness.
Oh, what? Huh? Yeah, selfishness. Yeah, and the greater commitment, the thing that will replace the God thought process, is community. Is the betterment of all things, all living things, all energetic things, instead of this God who's waiting to just judge you and punish you if you don't believe in him.
So you're talking about we, because we yes, we.
Yeah.
That's like the first state in the Constitution say we, but we don't never get there to we. It's always me or selfishness.
Right. So how much meaning would you have in your life if it was dedicated to creating that we?
I'd go down. I'd die with we. I would.
Right. You forever be challenging yourself and challenging the communities to be better towards one another, to live in such a way to the benefit of all people. And it's a challenge that you nor I will probably be able to accomplish in our lifetime, but to be able to move the needle in your lifetime.
That makes sense to me. I like that. That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect to me. I mean, I would die for a cause, but not be cause. You ever heard that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
I feel that way.
Okay. So you don't need the God of the Bible. You don't need this falsified doctrine and this falsified information.
No. I feel God. I feel him. In the world today, I feel him.
Okay. Well, I wanted to talk today to people who want to try to prove that any of these things actually happen.
No, that don't matter.
But I definitely want. But after hearing your first part of what you want to say, I just want to give you that little part. But I'm gonna let some other people get on here so I can see if we're gonna talk about this subject matter.
All right. I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate you reaching out to me. Thank you.
All right, appreciate you, James.
Take care.
Take care. Because that's a higher level of thought. Imagine if everybody actually thought in such a way that we wanted to better each other and better each other's lives. Imagine if the church actually did what they claim in today's doctrine of the church say. That'd be amazing. Chappelle, you there? Can't hear you, Chappelle. Your thing blinked for a second. Your microphone is on, from what I can tell. Chappelle, you there? Chappelle has turned to Darth Vader. I think Chappelle fell asleep. King James.
What's up, brother?
How you doing?
I'm fine. Yourself?
Good.
I'm enjoying hearing you when I see you.
Appreciate that.
Very wise man. Now on the topic right here, like I'm finding out a bunch of things this year that blew my mind. That Roma, Georgia, was before Rome over there.
Where'd you get that information?
The spelling. When you spell it Roma, that's Latin.
Right.
That's over here, Roma, Georgia. Now, when you spell it over there, it's Rome. That's English.
Wait a minute. That's not right. Rome, Georgia is spelled Rome. Rome in Italy is spelled Roma.
Roma, Georgia is Roma.
I am born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and it is Rome.
I looked it up as Roma.
Nope. It's Rome. And when I've spent time in Italy, they literally call the place Roma.
You know, Italy is a new name. That's a modern name.
It's the kingdom of Italy came about during the Renaissance period, but the city of Roma has always been pronounced over there as Roma. Just like we say Naples, you go over there is Napoli. So I don't know how. And Rome, Georgia, I used to own a sunglass and watch shop in Rome, Georgia. If I had my old computer, I could pull up my certificate, my business certificate of incorporation. It's Rome.
It's Rome?
Yes, in Georgia.
That was Roma. Georgia.
That's in Italy. It's Rome. In Italy, it's Roma.
What year was Italy founded?
When it became the Kingdom of Italy? I'm not exactly sure. Because they went through a period all the way up through the Renaissance of when they were like city states. Kind of like, yeah, they're city states.
Mm-hmm. So I know Rome, Italy is a modern name.
I don't know if Italy is how modern the name is. So the modern day Italy was founded March 17, 1861.
Roma, Texas.
When the Kingdom of Italy.
Texas. From Roma, Texas. Roma, M-R-O-M-A, Roma, Texas.
Okay. But
Atlanta, Georgia.
But Texas wasn't.
See, that's Latin.
But there was no such. Okay. You realize that many of the cities in the United States are named after Mediterranean cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like you got a Bethlehem, Georgia. You got a Cairo, Georgia.
When you look at the dates, on them, when they were founded,
mm-hmm.
just like all the African countries, all the African countries were founded within the 15th to 1800s. The white man even wrote their language.
Okay, I'm not understanding your point though.
The Europeans even wrote their language, the Latin every nationality.
Okay, but Latin's been around much longer than any Europeans been over here in the United States.
Right. We taught them how to wash and shave.
I mean,
so
I didn't teach them that.
We taught you how to wash and shave. We taught you how to wash and shave. We taught you how to read.
Well, that's a gross exaggeration.
No, they started sleeping with them.
No, that's a gross exaggeration. That's a gross exaggeration. Even during the Roman era, when Rome controlled the majority of Europe, people bathed. They had water. You can go to Spain and you'll see ancient plumbing systems, ancient watering systems. No, I'm trying to explain it to you. They were not wild. This is the gross misunderstanding. That then people who follow the Moorish idea jump on these little points. And this is going away from my subject matter, which I'm only going to spend 2 seconds on this, and then I'm done with it. You had a period in Europe where people washed all throughout the time frame that they was under the Roman Empire, and then even in the initial breakup. But then when Christianity took over during the Dark Ages, they believed the priests and the Christians taught some wild ass shit like, bathing too often allows for demons to come into your body. That if you sneeze, that you're either expelling your soul out of your body or you're allowing for some demon to come into your body. So during the Dark Ages, all these types of things were being told. And so hygiene did go down. They still had kingdoms. They still had schools. They still had laws. But then the Moors come in around 700. The Moors come in. And then the Moors, because they're in control, only on the Iberian Peninsula, not in England, not in Germany, not in France, not in Italy, only in Spain and Portugal. They upgrade their educational system. They force them to stop believing that demons come in your body if you are taking a hot bath. And out of that, the Moors have come out. The people who adopted Moorish stuff in the 1900s created this idea that all the Europeans were just bestial wild people, and the Moors came in and taught the Europeans everything. And they only conquered one little area. They didn't conquer all of Europe.
Herodotus said the people over there spoke like bats. When Herodotus said they spoke like bats, they spoke with chirps.
The people,
so they didn't have a language, he said.
What people?
Afri people, from Africa come from the word Africa, come from the Afri people, A-F-I-R-I. And Herodotus, when you go past Rome, so when you go 27 Rome, this is 2,700 years from today. So when you go back to 3,000 years ago, Rome didn't exist. And if Rome don't exist, Africa don't exist, because Africa depends on Rome to exist, because nobody speaks of Africa.
What?
In the Greeks. In the Greek, nobody speaks of Africa.
So the name Africa comes from, I think, Scopius africanus.
No.
And that's another misconception. And they were only talking about North Africa at that time frame. They didn't have the concept of who didn't exist.
Africa didn't exist at that time frame.
Africa has
Africa's an American word. It's an English word.
It comes from the Latin word Africanus. And as far as Africa being a named continent, no, but the continent did exist. There were people there.
The land was there.
And the people were there.
But now when you go look at the realistic of everything, you look at the oldest tree in the world, the oldest tree is in America. So where did Moses get that leaf from when he sent the bird out? The oldest tree is Methuselah in California.
Are you trying to say that the oldest? So you trying to say that America is where all that stuff happened? Are you a follower of Dane Calloway or somebody?
No, just logic.
Nah, that's not logical at all.
If the oldest tree is in America and the oldest river is in America, you need those two things to sustain life.
You saying the oldest tree and the oldest river is in America?
Canada, the river system flows through Canada to the America. We have in America over 3,000 freshwater springs.
Okay, so here's the problem with your oldest tree in America thought process. If the Noah's flood had actually happened, then the Methuselah tree would not exist. So have you ever driven through like a area like in Wilmington, North Carolina? You can drive through a part where the salt water has taken over where it used to be fresh water, and all those trees, and I forgot what it's actually called, but then all the trees are dying or dead, right? If you covered the earth with a mixture of salt water and fresh water, every tree, and covered it for a year, every tree would be dead. There wouldn't be a tree to go for a bird to pluck some stuff from. And by the way,
until that first tree sprouts about the water.
But the Methuselah tree is older than the time frame of Noah's flood, so it wouldn't work.
So that means they're tampering with the time, just like they tamper with the name. You know, wasn't no J.
So
wasn't no J until 1500.
So now they tampering with the time because you want to force this narrative to be true. So now they're tampering with the time. Do you understand how? So you're appealing to conspiracy. What does that have to do with anything? That's just in one language.
So there was no Jesus first century, no Joseph, no John, no Jerusalem, no Jew. There was none of that.
Okay, so have you ever read the Codex Sinaiticus? So if you read the Codex Sinaiticus, which is written in Greek, it doesn't say Jesus. It says Ius. Ius is their transliteration for the word Yeshua. Now the Latin translated Ius to Isus. And then when the J became part of the English language, then the name became Jesus. So it's a transliteration of the name Yeshua, which actually translates to Joshua in English.
And that's when it's switched to white. That's when it's switched to white, painted on pictures.
Okay, but do you understand what I'm saying? The whole letter J thing is just a transliteration. It doesn't make a point.
So it wasn't no Jesus back then. So
it has
was looking for Yahshua.
That,
so now in the 15th century, they changed his name to Jesus, and you look for Jesus.
Okay.
So
what does that have to do with the oldest tree being older than the flood?
Because if the oldest tree is in America, there was no trees in Africa at one point in time.
That is not what that means. That just means that trees that were older have died, or they've been rooted up. That's all that means. That doesn't mean that there were no trees in Africa.
But it still means we have the oldest tree over here and the oldest river over here.
No, we don't have the oldest river. The oldest river system is in Australia.
Canada. And then you have the new river.
What makes you think it's in Canada?
Because that was one of the oldest rivers, and then the new river is not in Africa. It's not over there. It's definitely not over there. That was bare land, wasteland. That's what he said. The Switzerland said. That's what they colonized it. See, this is why all the records.
Okay, so the oldest river system is in Australia, the Finke River in Australia, not in Canada.
What I read with the new river, so they can play with the numbers.
Oh, so now they can play with the numbers. So to facilitate your narrative, they play with the numbers.
In the first century, when it wasn't no Jesus in the first century, yeah, they can play with the
Dude,
numbers.
you are making some of the most ridiculous connections. You sit up here and you said that the oldest river is in Canada. The oldest river is actually, if all you got to do is use Google AI or any kind of Google. And
Every time you put something out, they go take it.
the oldest river, so and so when it doesn't come out, to fit the narrative that you want to
But you
say,
still can't get over the tree.
yes, I can.
You find me a tree that for over 5,000 years right now.
What does that have to do with anything?
Find me a tree in Africa. Find me a tree in Africa older than 5,000 years. Right. You can't even get over that tree.
A tree would not survive. Do you understand how flooding works when you have freshwater trees that get overcompensated by salt water? Would that tree live?
Brother, our tree survived. It's still there.
It survived. So now magic. So you're appealing to magic now. Because there ain't no way in hell a tree was still.
See, our tree still survive. It's called Methuselah.
So now you're appealing to
I
magic.
don't know, but when you can't find no tree over there, just like I could pay you, I'll pay you $100 if you find me an African with African paperwork and documentation from the 1400s to 1700s. Just one with documentation. Just one. Just find me one.
African documentation that's older than that time frame?
Anything that say Africa from the 1400s to the 1700s.
Why does that have to say Africa?
That's any man to Africa. Use the word Africa from the 1400s to the 1800s. That was a figment of their imagination in Rome that they conjured up. They took kingdoms from here and spread them out. Some people took some buyouts. See, that's why we have all the deeds. See the emerald tablets. It says Mary on the emerald tablets.
It does not.
Mary.
It does
Yeah,
not.
it does. On them deeds. Look, track them deeds back. You better track them deeds, brother. The deeds are serious.
Dude,
The names on them deeds are serious.
There-
That stone, you know, Babylonian stone.
okay, first of all, no one has actually ever seen some emerald tablets. That is something that this dude, what's his name? Starts with a D. I forgot his damn name. That's what a con man made up. And his wife even came out and said that he was a con man. So no one has never seen, there's never been any production of some emerald tablets. And the Romans had governors over North African territories, and they wrote them in as the governors of that land or the procurators of that land. And this is way before the 1500s, bro. This is laughable. I can't even. I'm gonna go on to the next guest.
Now when you go to the deeds over here, now when you go to
This man is sitting up here, and he's betting everything on the fact that a Methuselah tree is still in existence right now. And he doesn't understand that if there was a flood, there would not be any tree that would be older than the flood. Like, it would have to be a tree that dates back to about 2500 BCE. The Methuselah tree dates back to 5,800 and something. So that tree that actually disproves your flood story. Thank you, everybody, for the jewels that they've been giving on YouTube. Appreciate that. Thank you. Oh my gosh. And then you want to find me a tree. You're missing the whole point of the freaking tree, my guy. The whole point is that the tree wouldn't be in existence. I gotta go back and forth with some Billy Carson, Dane Calloway bullshit. I'm hitting buttons, but why is it not working? Boy, I tell you, Dane Calloway and Billy Carson got these jokers. And ain't nobody ain't never seen no damn emerald tablets. And I'm one who wished the Emerald tablets were true. I was hoping that the Emerald tablets were real. That's why the Corpus Hermeticus, Corpus Hermeticus. Richard. Richard, hey, boss lady. I heard you moving back to Texas. Richard. Richard. You can't debate Dane Calloway. Shit. Bullshit. About 8-9 years ago, I was supposed to do a show with Dane Calloway on that show, and that motherfucker refused to be on the show. So I ain't got no respect for Dane Calloway. It's a whole bunch of them jokers back in the day that was supposed to come on a show with me. And this was when I was doing shows with Kevin Wesley. And a whole bunch of them was like, nah. Dane Calloway was one of them. Because they know they full of shit, but people there's a certain core of black people who so want to fit into this book, to be the people, we the original people, or fit into the Bible, that we are indigenous to America. They want that so damn bad that they're willing to accept anything. They accept any goddamn thing just because they want to fit in. They can't change their own life and make their own life great enough that they gotta, see, we the original people. And one of the reasons why people like Dane Calloway don't want to talk to me, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna say, okay, you're indigenous people. What treaties are you gonna get? What land you gonna get? If I granted you that, what the hell you gonna do with it other than sit up there and talk about it, and keep taking money from people like a goddamn pastor? You ain't putting together nothing. You ain't put shit together. But you wanted to, we original people. You've been saying that shit for 15, 20 years. You ain't bought no land. I got more respect for that Christian dude in some podunk ass town up near Amarillo, Texas, who bought some land and trying to get black people to move to that land and pretty much take over the government. I got more respect for that Christian dude than I do for people like Dane Calloway. Because you ain't done shit with your shit. Talking all that oldest tree. You just said the Bible ain't real. Yeah, Coach, boss lady, boss lady better come visit me in Texas. Mac time, you in Texas? Who all in Texas? I'm in San Antonio. Where y'all at in Texas? Let's do a little roll call. Where everybody at? Where's everybody? Where everybody at? Let's get some more people up here. It is hot. It's 106. The feel like it's 106 today in San Antonio. And even with my air conditioning in here, it is still hot. I got fans and everything. We got Pennsylvania. We got Beaumont. Oh, you in Beaumont? Oh, yeah, that's right. Next time I dream, you said you was in Beaumont. Florida. Huntsville, Spaceville. Oh, yeah, Spurs might win a championship this year. Oh, 113 in Vegas. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. We can have that bullshit. All right, let's see who else is next. Got Connecticut, got Michigan, Rhode Island, Minnesota, LA. Oh, I got a Georgia person. My hometown, ATL, Louisiana. All right, let's see if there's another guest on here. Tennessee. Russell. 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 I think Russell just at work. Got Mississippi. M-I, crickulated, crickulated. Yes, I'll visit you when I move back to Texas in a few months. Okay. Daughter just moved to Tennessee 2 weeks ago. Cool. You better be moving to San Antonio, boss lady. Beaumont, we might have to do a meetup in Houston, even though that's further away for me to drive to Houston. Okay, we're gonna try him again. James. What happened to my thing? James. There we go. James. I think he hit it by accident. I don't know. Look, there's a comprehension that you got to have. You can't be, don't be so caught up into your narrative that you cannot, that your comprehension goes away, that you lose all comprehension. So, I mean, I know James is still listening. So I want James to just take a breather and comprehend this. The Moses story supposedly happened somewhere around 2600, 2500 BC. That's 4,600 years ago, right? Now, if the flood story happened then, and you got a tree that's 5,800 years old, that tree cannot survive being underwater, and especially a mixture of freshwater, salt water, for over a year. Now, let's extend it even. So the tree will be dead unless you appeal to magic. That's it. You just appealing to magic. And then when he said the oldest river system is in the United States, but the oldest river system is actually in Canada, oh, they playing with the numbers. The tree is 5,800 years old. Oh, they're playing with the numbers. Now you want to appeal to conspiracy. Berger, Texas? Where the hell is Berger, Texas? I ain't never heard of Berger, Texas. That's new. That's new and on. If creation didn't happen, you wouldn't be here. Yes, I would, because my mom and my daddy had sex. And so did they parents, and they parents, and they parents, and they parents, and they parents, until we get to a point where we don't even know. But we know it had to happen. And it didn't start from two people. No Adam and Eve. James, you keep hitting the button.
It's a store, bro. I apologize. I'm at the store. 1 second.
Just mute yourself until you come out.
Okay, I'm ready.
Oh.
Yeah, I was at the counter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, brother, if the tree, the Methuselah is a living tree. It's still here. So there's no mistaking about that tree is here. So now,
okay.
What I'm saying is, if that's the oldest tree in the world, where was the other tree at? There was no other tree. Everything else becomes
the Methuselah tree being the oldest living tree does not mean that there were no trees before the Methuselah tree. You've seen people tear trees down, right? You've seen storms knock over trees, right?
Of course.
So trees don't live forever once they've been planted, or once they've been planted themselves, right? So a tree being the oldest tree doesn't necessarily mean no other trees existed before it.
Okay. Well, now show me the one that you had 5,000 years ago over there.
We don't have a tree that's older than that anywhere else on the planet. It's the oldest tree that's still alive.
Okay, so when Moses got to send the bird out to get that fig leaf, he had to get it from over here.
No, he did not. You talking about Noah, not Moses.
Moses, Noah, you know, man. I apologize.
But
he had to get the fig leaf.
No,
somewhere,
he
right?
did not. It did
So
not.
Where did the bird get it from? Where did the bird get it from?
It didn't happen. That's the first part. It never happened.
Oh, okay.
It-
We knew the trees here. We knew the trees here, though.
Which has nothing to do with the Bible.
Yeah, but we're the oldest tree in America.
Okay, so
See,
there.
See, that's a fact. That's a fact. So that at one point in time, there was no trees in Africa. On that
Where
land,
does
on
that?
land.
Okay, that's why I cut you off, because you have a comprehension
You
problem.
This is just ain't life.
You have a No, you do not. You have a
Oh,
comprehension
you
issue.
need trees.
You do not have to have trees, and that little satire thing of I apologize. That's a bullshit little comment. But
No, I thought
You-
you need trees to sustain life, but you said you don't.
you don't. What is it about trees that we need in order to sustain life? Oxygen. Okay. Where does 80% of our oxygen come from? No, they do not. 80% of our oxygen comes from plankton in the sea.
We need trees.
No, we can sustain life on this planet with just the
We
plankton.
need trees.
No,
With you, brother.
we can sustain.
You don't need trees.
No, we don't. We can no. Now understand, if you take away trees, it will have some issues, but we'll still have life. If you took away all the trees, then we'll have a lot of deserts, a lot of windswept areas. The planet will literally be windswept. Life will still continue though, because oxygen, 80% of our oxygen comes from the ocean. So we don't need trees in order to sustain life.
Okay, so they over there with no trees and they got an ocean with no fresh water because the water's on the side of the continent.
What? Who said they don't have fresh water? Where you get that from?
They got like 56 fresh water springs.
There is fresh water all over the planet.
No, it's not. That's where you got the game messed up at, brother. You know, all of this shit in their water, they water just filthy and nasty. They have certain parasites in their water.
Bruh. I've been to rivers and lakes in multiple countries throughout Africa, Middle East, Europe, and they got very fresh water, clean water, cleaner than most of the water in America. What the hell?
Where they at?
Oh my God. Go to Garmisch-Partenkirchen in Germany. Garmisch-Partenkirchen.
Germany? I know we're in Africa. We're going to Germany. Because there's two different total places.
Okay. Have you ever been to Lake Victoria?
No.
Fresh water like a motherfucker in Africa.
Where's it at?
In Africa. What was that? I think I was on the Ugandan side.
Mm-hmm.
Fresh water.
So, how many fresh water springs they got?
What does the number matter? You said that, what does the number? I don't know how many fresh water springs.
We want to do the division.
I don't know how many. You know what? I can find out.
The people.
I can. This has got to be one of the most ludicrous conversations that I've had this week.
Victoria, Africa. Just like you can't find me an African. You couldn't even find me an African, a solid African with African information with the 1400s to the 1700s.
What are you talking about? You
They
can't
didn't
find
use
a.
African. They didn't use that word. From the 1400s to the 1800s, they didn't use that word. That word wasn't in circulation.
Okay, so do you understand that
That's why you never find
Europeans named it Africa, but like my hold on, like my family, like part of my family is Yoruba. The Yoruba people in my family never would have called themselves African. They called themselves Yoruba. The Mali part of my family never would have called themselves African. They called themselves Mali. So your point makes absolutely zero sense.
You said they call themselves Mali.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mali, it doesn't attach to nothing about Mali attached to Africa. The word Africa, nothing.
Do you understand that these people call themselves based on their tribe,
Yeah, they didn't call
their
themselves
nation?
Africa.
No, they
They
didn't.
can move those tribes and nations around. That's what they did. That's called colonization, when they move people around.
What
So
are
you mix you up and don't know who you is. They separate the dark from the light.
my Yoruba family? The people in Nigeria still call themselves Yoruba. What the hell are you talking about?
Right, because that's what the European gave them.
They were calling themselves Yoruba before that.
Oh yeah.
They told the Europeans what they were called, just like the Dahomey told them what they were called, just like every other people in Africa told them their name.
You know those are modern constructs, right? Nigeria, Aruba, Igbo, Bo. Go to the linguistics of the word. Bo. Bo is an American word.
Dude, they were calling themselves Yoruba before any English came down there. What the hell are you talking about?
How when they couldn't read it right, and the Europeans had to write for them? How was they using English alphabets? How was they using the vowel sounds, the A-E-I-O-U? What are you talking about?
What?
How?
I can't deal with you. You ignorant as fuck. No, yeah, you should, because that's some ignorant ass shit that you're talking. This man is acting like Africans was running around just talking about some ooga booga, ooga booga, ooga booga. You done bought into some of the European constructs of racism, of eugenics, from the late 1800s to the early 1900s, of thinking Africans just running around with fucking bones in their noses and shit. You're an embarrassment to black people with that nonsense that you sitting up here talking about. What in all the three levels of fucking hell are you thinking that the people in Africa didn't have language? And do you think you have to have a written language in order to have language? That just shows that you are even more ignorant than I can fucking imagine. Will, I hope you got something more intelligent to talk about. Because
What's going on?
Melted my brain.
What's going on?
How you doing, Will?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Had a crazy summer, dude. Did Patti LaBelle's lighting. Pretty cool.
Oh, that's nice.
She was here in Philly. That was sick.
What do you think about the subject matter?
Christ is Lord, brother, and God is real.
All right.
Now,
so
I
what's your
see
proof
that
that
I see a bunch of guys on the YouTube, like you have your like pre-written, debates written about the Bible, but like let's just go broad picture. Who's the most famous person to ever live on the face of the earth? The most talked about person, Jesus Christ, a carpenter from a sheep herding village in the middle of Nazareth. That'd be like being from Pottstown, PA, or
Okay, let me mute you real quick, because you're sitting up here going into some theology shit. I'm not talking theology. If you can't talk about my subject matter, then there's no point for you being here.
What's your subject matter? Africa?
Nope, that's my subject matter. I just allowed that dude to go into some stupid shit to show how ignorant he was.
All right, what's the subject matter over here is all Old Testament.
And
Christ came to reverse the testament. Like that's the whole point of Christ existing. He says to the Pharisees.
You know what? I'm going to entertain you for a second. What is your proof that Jesus actually existed?
I just told you the proof, and you said you're going off on theology, brother. What is your proof that he doesn't?
Somebody being famous.
What is your proof? What is your proof that he doesn't?
You know who's also famously talked about all over the world, and people have different names for him, but most countries talk about this person? Santa Claus.
Yeah, but Santa Claus doesn't have a birth record from the Roman Empire. Santa Claus doesn't have a birth certificate.
Where's the birth record? What birth record?
In the Vatican, bro.
When was he born?
These are
You've seen it? You've seen his
When is he born? When is he born? Zero. Year zero.
Really?
Yes. AD, after death.
Oh my God. So you haven't read your Bible, nor do you understand what Anno Domini means. Anno Domini means in the year of our Lord.
Yeah. Right. Or in English, you can say after death. You can say it though.
No,
it's the same thing.
No, you cannot.
I'm not arguing what AD means. I'm not arguing what AD means. I'm wrong on that one.
Obviously,
My bad,
because you don't
brother.
know what it means.
My bad, brother. My bad, brother.
Okay,
Maybe I got
so-
AD wrong.
So when
What's
was
your
he born?
evidence that God doesn't exist?
When was he born?
What is your evidence that God doesn't exist?
Answer my question. Don't try to change the subject matter.
There's
When was he
birth
born?
certificates. There's crucifixion records. I'm giving you all the records.
Where?
You want me, I
Where?
don't have an
Where?
encyclopedia right here.
Where?
Google,
You're
brother.
just making up stuff.
I'm not making up stuff. You're making up stuff, dumbass.
When does Matthew say that he was born?
Look, I hope everyone watching can come to the
When
Lord.
does Matthew say that
Okay.
he was born? When does Matthew say he
You
was
see,
born?
again, I told you this when I first jumped on the call. You
When
got your
was that
pre-written
Matthew
debates
say he was
about the
born?
Bible.
When did Matthew say he was born?
What are you talking about, Matthew?
When
I'm not
does
talking about
Matthew-
anything in the Bible. I'm talking about something separate from the Bible. There's birth records. I don't have them
Where?
on me, but he's a real
Prove
person.
it. Prove the birth record.
Prove that he isn't.
There is no birth records of Jesus.
Yes, there is.
No, because everything.
Yes,
when
there
the-
is.
when
See,
the
this is
temple-
what people
No.
with super low IQs do. They
This
equate
is
it
what
to Santa
somebody
Claus.
who does not understand their own stuff their own religion does not understand. So if you understood anything, according
Hey,
to the
everyone
Roman
listening,
according to the Roman records, the temple was destroyed in
Christ will
70
come to
CE.
judge not.
It was destroyed in
Christ
70
will-
CE, and I can easily remove you from the stage, dude. So you can press that button all you want to. But when 70 CE, when they came and they destroyed the temple, all the records that were in the temple in Jerusalem were destroyed. They were burnt up, utterly destroyed. There are no birth records. Everything in the second temple was destroyed in 70 CE. In 70 AD, Anno Domini, in the year of our Lord, which actually is an incorrect calculation because according to Matthew, he was born, excuse me, during the reign of King Herod. But according to Luke, he was born during the census of Quirinius. There's a 10-year gap. Man, get out of here with your dumb shit. Oh my God. They got records in the Vatican. They got records in the Vatican. Your ass ain't never been to the Vatican. Go to the Vatican. Go get the records. Show us the records. Oh, man. And I hope that everybody come up here and they can do and they find Jesus. Have you been to the Vatican? Yes, I have. I've been to the Vatican 2 times. One time as a tourist. The second time I went to the Vatican under a study grant and went inside the Vatican libraries. So I've been to the Vatican. As a tourist was just a bunch of bullshit. But no, I did notice some things and learn some things when I went there as a tourist. But when I went there under a study grant, then yeah, I went into the Vatican library, which you have to be going in there in order to, it has to be some type of study. There's 11 different questions that you have to go through, different interviews you have to go through. It takes about 7 years in order for you to go into the Vatican library. So there's that part. And there are plenty of people who questions the historicity of Jesus. But when your job requires you, then you're going to keep saying. There's actually, the next time you talk to one of these so-called PhD people who say that they believe that there's a historical Jesus, ask them what is their actual proof, their evidence of a historical Jesus actually existing. Let's see if they show you any birth records or anything that proves that there was a historical Jesus. D-Dub. 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 And I like when these people are like, what makes you think you're better than historians? I'm bounded. I'm not attached to a museum. I'm not attached to a school. I'm not attached to any entity that has a program and you have to follow that program. So I go wherever the information lands. I don't care if, like, I appreciate people like Bart Ehrman, but the fact that he's the dean over the religious studies department, he can't say everything he may want to say. You ever have that concept? Like, do you have a job? You can't just say whatever you want to say when you got a job. Just like that man who came out and he was talking shit about the little kid who died in the swamp recently, and he lost his job. You can't just say whatever you want to say. But when you are independent of all that, you can just say whatever's real. You can say whatever's real. But y'all getting y'all feelings. You know, damn Jesus. Jesus ain't never existed. There's no evidence that Jesus ever existed. Just like there's no evidence. Thank you. Appreciate the smiley face heart. Thanks for the gifts. There's no evidence that Moses ever existed. There's no evidence that Noah ever existed. Matter of fact, there's evidence that say that Moses and Noah never existed. That's where the evidence goes. That's where it goes. And then you got preacher boy come on here. Oh, Jesus existed. We got his birth records in the Vatican. How the fuck you don't? You ain't never been in the Vatican. You ain't, and the Vatican ain't never brought out any documentation or stone tablets or images of Jesus. There's no historian in the first century who was walking around during the first century, early first century, like Philo of Alexander, never mentions Jesus. No contemporary of Jesus ever mentions Jesus. There's zero proof of Jesus. There's just your belief. James, you're not coming back on my show because I'm not dealing with you. You don't have the comprehension to be on my show today. Maybe another day on another subject matter, but not today. You've had your chance 3 times to show some level of comprehension, but you don't have it. And you know, there's a brick wall out there, and I'm not going to go and hit my head against the brick wall. Hold on, my wife texts me now. You know, the wife texts me. Oh, she being funny. Okay. I check. My kids text me too. You know, my children are more important than y'all. Oh, wow. I thought I was going to be able to actually have an intelligent conversation with some folks today, but evidently that's not going to happen. Nate. 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 We can hear your music, Nate, but I can't hear you, Nate. Nate. Nate don't want to talk. I mean, fool getting caught up on the letter J and then can't even understand the interpolation. Show me another tree. You think there was no other trees in existence? Do you know how much of a desert the world would be if there was no other trees? And then you're like, what we need trees for? They sustain life. No, go do some research. The overwhelming majority of oxygen is produced by the oceans. We actually can still live without trees. It would change the environment drastically, but we would still survive. Oh, okay. Let's see. Any comments? I don't know what the how is for. The how about how would we survive without trees? We still survive. We still be able to breathe. The ocean produce 80% of our oxygen, so we still be able to breathe. There'll still be enough oxygen in the air. It would create some issues, of course, because we're accustomed to the tree system, to our tree systems, and what it provides our total environment. But any drastic change like that would change the environment, and over time, our bodies would adapt to it. Every new generation would be more adaptable to a no tree Earth. But plankton produce 80% of the oxygen that you're breathing right now. 80% of the oxygen is coming from the ocean. So I don't know where they get these ideas. Yep, Debbie. Hey, Debbie, I ain't seen you in a minute. Trees would, yeah, without trees, it would be ugly. Although, there are some parts, you go out there to West Texas, New Mexico, the desert can be pretty at times. And imagine that world. If Noah's flood would have happened, a year later, when the water levels drop, there would be no trees. Every tree would be dead. Every tree would be dead if Noah's flood happened. So then the Methuselah tree that he is staking his whole argument on would be dead. My likes way said, my likes way better, bruh. He said, Joshua conquest happened. I was there. Right. Joshua didn't conquest nothing. He said it was there. Dark light, you don't have to use the vertical format. There should be an option for vertical or horizontal format because both of them are available. Right. The Methuselah tree would have died during the flood. So the fact that it still lived on, like there wouldn't be any trees that are older than the flood. You couldn't have an old tree older than the flood. So the Methuselah tree actually proves against it. But see, his thing is he wants America to be the place that all these biblical events happened. And that's why he's so headstrong on it. He was so headstrong on it. Even when he said, oh, the oldest river system is in Canada and Americas. But then if you look it up, the oldest river system is in Australia. So what does he appeal to? Conspiracy theory. I got it. It's conspiracy theory. They fiddling with the numbers. Just like the other guy was, oh, then magic. Science is a bunch of bullshit. But my science, biblical science, magic. I'm going to appeal to the magic. All right. But everything would be dead. So Noah's flood is an impossibility. There's not enough water, period, for the flood to ever have happened. These stories are based on minor floods in everybody's little area. And I call them only minor based on if there was a worldwide flood in comparison to a worldwide flood. When the Persian Gulf flooded and became the Persian Gulf, that was a major flood. And I can see how the people who survived that, the Sumerians, created their story about Ziusudra. Because that would have been a huge flood for them of the Persian Gulf. So I'm sorry. My kids keep texting me. My wife keep texting me. Well, my wife didn't text me again. Kids keep texting me. So anyway, so the Ziusudra flood story most likely came about because during the time frame of the Sumerians, which is a people group that we have no connected history of. We have no idea where the Sumerians actually came from, where the Sumerian language came from. We just see the merger of the Sumerians with the Akkadians, and it's most likely that they came from the Strait of Hormuz area. And when that area flooded during the Younger Dryas period, their whole flood narrative of Ziusudra is most likely based on the Persian Gulf flooding. We've seen that under the Persian Gulf, there are ancient rivers. So we know that that area wasn't underwater all the time. And the Younger Dryas flood is the only time after it's been underwater. So that's how these flood stories come about. And most of the coastal flood stories are because of the Younger Dryas flood. So And then these other floods, like yesterday, somebody brought up the Peruvian floods at Machu Picchu. That was a river and lake flood. Wasn't a worldwide flood, river and lake flood, and they told them to go up to the high mountains, Machu Picchu. The Chinese flood stories are all based on the Yellow River flooding. None of them are about a worldwide flood. They're based on the Yellow River flooding. And they even have a rainbow in their story. Are you a flat earth? No. I don't even, that's a subject I don't even get into. Jalen. I think Jalen pressed that by accident. Yep. So when you actually research every flood story, and I did a video when we was in Tennessee at the Moccasin Bend, and I talked about how they had flood stories about Moccasin Bend, that place was flooded. But we have archaeological evidence that shows how those people have been there for a minimum 25,000 years, from 25,000 BCE, and they have a continued history in Moccasin Bend all the way up to today. There's no break in the history of Moccasin Bend, Tennessee, which is what's that city up there? Damn, what's the name of that damn city? What is the name of the city in Tennessee? It's an hour and a half from Georgia. Sits right on the border. They got the oh my God, Chattanooga. Thank you. My brain just had a brain fart. So Chattanooga, you go to Chattanooga, Tennessee, go to Moccasin Bend. When you go up to Moccasin Bend, you can see that they have archaeology. Thank you, my dear. They have archaeology that shows that Moccasin Bend at no point was it ever not a continuous society from 25,000 BCE. And I get a whole video on it, showed you the artifacts. Yeah, so no flood. They missed it. Back time.
Hey, how you doing, Coach? Can you hear me fine? Do I need to turn anything off? I got air conditioning and fan on and whatnot.
No, you're fine.
All right. Well, I was just calling you to see what you got to say about David establishing Israel, because I mean I know they found an Edomite stela that said that he exists. That said that no, it said that Israel paid taxes to the Edomites, but they didn't. But it didn't mention David, and it's kind of hard to find evidence of David. So I just want to know what's your thoughts on David from the Bible.
Well, the only information that we have, the only artifact that we have that has any semblance to David is called the Tel Dan Stela. And in the Tel Dan Stela, I think it's a Moabite king.
Mm-hmm.
It might be an Edomite. I can't remember right offhand, but it's either Edomite or a Moabite king. I was always thinking it's a Moabite king. But anyway,
I think maybe you are right. If we talking about the same stela, maybe.
But that's the only one. That's the only one that has House of David on it. So what he says on there is that he conquered Jehoiakim and another one of the people who claim to be, and all their seeds of people who claim to be from the House of David.
Okay.
So it doesn't validate David. It just validates that there was someone who claimed that they were from the House of David and that this king did kick their ass.
Excuse me, ain't this called circumstantial evidence or what kind of evidence? So all right, so only thing we have that establishes David's existence is circumstantial evidence about some other people saying that they was from that house.
Right, that's it. Go ahead,
sir. No, I was gonna ask you. So then that means that Solomon is not real, or he was just claiming to be the son of a man who didn't exist. I mean, how does all this work out?
Yeah, so then you got Solomon claiming so there's no proof, there's no evidence and nothing that shows Solomon. Like even within there was nothing from the first temple that would demonstrate that Solomon existed. There's no pieces of it, no inscriptions, nothing. You just have the second temple was built, and then of course that was destroyed by the Romans. So we don't have any evidence of Solomon building the first temple. It is just that they claim that Solomon built the first temple based on the Torah and the Tanakh.
Okay.
But there's no evidence of it. And so just so you know, the king's right. The Tel Dan Stele has this. Oh, he's an Armenian king. So we both was wrong. He's an Armenian king, and he said that he claimed that he killed Jehoram, the king of Israel, and Ahaziah, the king of the house of David. So they were just claiming that, and many historians just accept that as saying that, oh, well, that's proof that David existed. It doesn't demonstrate. It proves that somebody claimed to be from the house of David. It doesn't demonstrate that the David of the Bible is the person that they're claiming to be from, right?
Right.
So, like, you could be from the house of McTime. Your son is from the house of McTime.
Right.
Does that mean that you were the king of Texas?
No, it don't. It just means I talk big shit, big Texas shit.
And
but
that's one of the things that people don't understand about ancient people. Even though today we just I would say that my name Lorenzo Reed, right? Back then I would be Lorenzo of the House of Reed. Right? That's it. It doesn't mean
that, got you.
Yeah. Now the people of the day would know what that means. But 1,000 years from now, if somebody made up some stories and shit about my great-great-grandfather Jack Reed and said that Jack Reed conquered all of Georgia, now I'm from this house that conquered all of Georgia.
So, yeah. Well, it was two thoughts crossing my mind because I was in your chat earlier talking with this one guy. And he pointed out, I think much of his history was being kind of muddled and confused, but I'm no historian either. And his point was that I got what I gathered was the ancient Hebrews really had no culture or language before the Greeks came. And I just see that as like totally false, kind of sound racist a little bit on his face. False. But but he made a good point. He pointed out that there is there's not that much ancient Hebrew artifacts and cultures, especially when you compare it to Greece. I looked it up and it seemed like it was true, but I did an AI search. What say you about that? Do we have any appreciable amount of information from those people back in their days?
The earliest information that we have from them is from the 8th century BCE. That's it.
8th century.
Yeah, 8th century BCE.
Can you give me like a landmark to, because 8th century just sound like numbers to me.
So that would be like in the 700s BCE. You got things like the Tel Dan Stele. You have the writings of Sennacherib, where he talks about his conquering of conquering of Israel, and that Hezekiah paid him the tribute, and he pulled his army back after he stopped the siege on Jerusalem. After Hezekiah paid the tribute, you got the Mesha Stela, which talks about how that's the Moabite king, who he kicked the ass of the Israelite of Omri and he took the sacrifice meant for Yahweh and gave it to Shamash for giving him the victory. So you got artifacts like that shows that the society was around during those time frames, and they got their ass whooped.
I guess what else would have been happening in the world about 8th century? That was 8th century BCE, so I can kind of get a time frame when this all was occurring.
I mean, the 8th century. So you got pretty much the end of the Bronze Age collapse that's had happened. And so you had a whole bunch of other kingdoms fighting for control over, and these were city-state kingdoms fighting for control over the Levant.
Okay.
You had Egypt come in there for a little bit, then get kicked out. You got the Hittites. Well, you got the Hittites, but I know you got the Armenians, you got the Moabites, you got a bunch of warring states going on.
So this is all right. So this is when the Hittites was up and coming. When they was up and coming superpower.
Well, no, I think the Hittites were before then. I think Hittites is Iron Age.
All right. All right.
So the Hittites were a few centuries before that, because they fought against the Egyptians.
Yeah. Oh.
In like the 1300s.
Yeah, I was privileged to see we even know the names of some of the horses that fought in that war with the Egyptians and the Hittites, because they had good records on both sides.
Yeah. So that's kind of, you can only go by those records.
Yeah, I know, and that's kind of off the subject, but I want to ask you something else, and I forgot what I was going to ask you, but that's all I wanted to know. I just wanted to just to see, because I mean, the guy pointed out some good points, because I started to research, and I had always thought that, I mean, it just seemed like it's kind of racist for you to say that these people couldn't have their own culture without the Greeks. I mean, even if there is,
that depends on evidence. That depends on when he's starting the time frame. Obviously, there was a group of people who broke away from the Canaanite people in around the 1300, 1200 BCE and started calling themselves Israelites. And then the Egyptian Pharaoh Mesha came and kicked their ass in 1204. And then, but soon after that, you had the Bronze Age collapse, and that's when that whole area was up for grabs. But they did establish their own selves based on the Canaanite culture and flipped it into their own culture somewhere probably around 1200 is when they started.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to ask you. Beat me to the punch. I just remember when you said Canaanite. I wanted to ask you if we have any evidence that they are a separate culture from the Canaanite. That's another thing that I hear that I'm not too sure about is they it seemed to be they couldn't hardly tell the difference between the Canaanites and the Israelites.
Well, because Israelites were Canaanites, they were just a sect of Canaanite. So Canaanite actually is a small group of individual group called Canaanites, and then there's a larger group of other people who still fall under Canaanite because they are branches from the Canaanite group. So Israelites are a branch off of the Canaanite groups. One of the ways to be able to identify this is through their language. Another way is through their pantheon of gods. So like Yahweh was a Canaanite deity and then grew into becoming merged with El.
Yeah, and so the northern 10 tribes or northern Israel, was that Canaanite or that was just Israelite and Canaan was a separate land?
Well, by then they're separate.
Okay, because I mean, I was starting to form the opinion that the Israelites was like the incel Canaanites. They was one they was always talking shit on them people because they wasn't cool like them. The Canaanites had all the big cities and they was trading with most of the culture, which they got conquered a lot because of it. But they was cool, and the Israelites, nobody really messed with them. It was like they was the incels.
Well, they were just a wandering tribe for a few hundred years before they established a city-state and was able to conquer the city of Jebus, which later becomes Jerusalem, and to conquer the city of Samaria, which also becomes one of their capitals. So the Bronze Age collapse allowed for them to grow into a larger city-state. Prior to that, they were just nomadic people.
Okay, well, before I go, one off-topic question, because it's not that much off-topic, but it's not really what you're talking about today. The island of Crete, that sea-safe island in the Mediterranean that blew up, all that many years ago. I want to know, is it a good speculation that they think that's part of the reason for the Bronze Age collapse, and that was and
no,
some of those people was the Philistines?
No.
Okay, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Santorini, that volcano exploded. I think it's like 1600.
Okay.
BCE, and that is 600 years before the Bronze Age collapse. So it wouldn't have had nothing to do with the Bronze Age collapse.
All right. Well, hey, thank you, Coach. I just wanted to come and pick your brains a little bit. I see you wasn't getting too many opposition calls.
No problem.
All right.
All right. Canaanites worship Baal, not Yahweh. No, Baal. Yes, Baal was one of the gods. He was more one of the higher gods of the Canaanites. Yahweh was considered one of the lower gods. When you look at the Canaanite god scale, Yahweh don't even make the top 3 levels. So Yahweh was a low-level storm deity for reckless storms. Baal was more of a fertility god. Let's see. Got a few people up here. I know I saw that name earlier, so we'll put that one. Nathan? Nathan. Nathan. Now Nathan gonna put in the comments, let me up, let me up. Then he get up here and he's silent. He probably in a situation where he can't talk. I'll give people the benefit of the doubt. Well, Nathan, if you want to come back up, then you got to redo it. Chewbacca. Man, I wish that was the Chewbacca that I listened to. There's a young lady. She does political commentary most of the time and economic commentary named Chewbacca, but sometimes she does go in about the Bible. That young lady is incredibly intelligent. Oh, shit. I hit 2 people at the same time. Chewbacca, you up?
Yeah.
Oh, Nathan, I need you to mute yourself for a second, Nathan. Wait. Chewbacca, are you going to come up? Because I hit yours first.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You said 99% of the Bible never happened.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Logically, right? We can say we believe something occurred or we don't believe something occurred, but because we weren't present at the time, you can't say something happened or didn't happen because you weren't there. I can't prove that it did happen if I believe because I wasn't there, and you certainly can't prove something didn't happen because you didn't even exist at the time. So the information, the source of information you get is somebody's opinion, just like the information I'm getting, you believe is somebody's opinion. To make a statement like that is really just disingenuous.
So did the Revolutionary War in America happen?
Oh, we have that. Yes, absolutely.
But you weren't there. So how can you say absolutely if you weren't there?
Not only do we have recorded history, we have artifacts, and we have grave sites, we have battleships, we have guns, we have uniforms. I can go on and on of evidence of such a thing.
Okay.
Come on, man. Let's be real.
Right. So we have evidence that shows that the Noah's flood could have never happened. The Tower of Babel. We have evidence that the Exodus never happened because Egypt thrived during that time frame.
Noah's flood. First of all, they find whale bones in deserts all across the world.
No, they don't.
Himalayas,
no, they don't. No. I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you cold. I'm gonna stop. Wait. I'm gonna let you get. I'm gonna let you get there. Hold on. I'm gonna let you get there. We do not find whale bones. We do not find. Oh my gosh. We do not find whale bones all over the world. We found whale bones in the Sahara Desert because at one point the Sahara Desert was underwater about 20,000 years ago.
Okay. The earth ain't even that old. Number two, the rooftop of the world they call the Himalaya Mountain. If you research it, there's fish fossils. There's fossils of fish in the rocks in the Himalayas. And that's the highest point on the earth.
Nathan, we got there's background noise. Hold on for a second. Nathan.
Let me speak, brother. If you research any ancient.
If you let Nathan, can you mute your phone because there's background noise? See, you think I'm trying to interrupt you for one reason.
Every ancient culture has spoke about a great flood.
Okay, so
whether you believe Noah was involved in that flood or not is your option. But to say a flood never happened and there's proof of it. If you go to the Grand Canyon, you'll see that.
Okay, see what you can't do is keep jumping point without a response. Okay, That's why I interrupt you, because you're trying to make 11 points.
No, I'm just trying to give you a list.
I don't want your list. I want it. If we're gonna have a conversation, you make a point, I respond to the point. You make a point, I respond to the point. Not you go on droning on 11 points. So
no, I wasn't going to do that.
But that's what you was doing.
I know I was going to name a few things that.
That's what you were doing, was what I just said. You making a whole bunch of points.
Right.
So the Himalaya Mountains are one of the youngest mountain ranges on the planet Earth. We know that it came from the bottom of the sea because it is when the Indian subcontinent merged with the Asian continent, which with it coming from underwater, that is why we find seashells on top of Mount Everest. But it is the youngest mountain range on the planet, and that was 40 to 50 million years ago. But there are plenty of other mountain ranges where there are no seashells on top of them.
Right, exactly. Look, brother, first of all, that's a comic book.
Hold on.
All that 50 million years ago.
What?
There is no way that you can tell how old something is. Carbon-14 dating has been proven to be false. Has been proven to be a joke.
Okay, so
there's no way you
sir,
can tell me how
sir,
old something is.
Sir,
No one can.
Sir, we don't use carbon-14 dating to date a mountain range. Mountain ranges. One of the way that we date rock is through radiometric dating, which is accurate up to 98 to 99% accurate in its time range. So we don't use carbon dating for that. And then yes, people thought that continental drift was a pseudoscience until we discovered that continental drift actually happens in the early 1900s.
Those are theories.
No,
you're talking about
continental drift is not a theory.
You're not talking about facts. No. You're talking about the 20 million years ago. Why wouldn't it be 30 million years ago? How do they know what? It's ridiculous.
Because have you ever researched radiometric dating? What is not
accurate?
What is it? What is radiometric dating?
Bullshit.
What is it?
It don't matter what it is.
What is it?
Radio, yeah, that's energy. I don't somehow measuring some type of energy in a rock or some type of release of energy from a rock when they burn it up or when they apply some type of energy.
You're close. It's garbage. Close. Oh, it's garbage because it doesn't fit your narrative. Okay.
It's garbage.
And here's the other part.
Remember.
I can't because
no, go ahead.
You're talking about you've already made your state that you appeal to magic over science. So I'm gonna let you go with that one. And when it comes to when it comes to flood stories all over the world, which is a popular thing that Christians like to say, what Bible believers like to say, do you realize that the overwhelming majority of flood stories around the world are dealing with river floods and lake floods? They're not dealing with worldwide floods, and that the overwhelming majority of the coastal floods are dealing with the situation of the Younger Dryas flood, not Noah's flood.
Yes, sir. If I can join with my brother, I want to first of all appreciate the conversation, and I just wanted to just ditto with him. There is proof that there is a God. Jacob had 12 sons. In our ribs, we have 12 ribs known.
That's proof that there's a God.
Yeah, there's proof that there is a God.
Go ahead.
Even when I heard you, I wasn't going to join in at first because I was just listening to you. But at one moment, you was smoking on your cigar, and somebody had raised a question and a point about a biblical fact about Solomon and David, and then you said, "Oh my God, my brain just drew a freeze." So even in our DNA and who we are as a person, we're going to respond to God because we were created in His image and after His likeness.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you because one, I don't do preaching. So what does me having a brain freeze, dude, Chewbacca, no, I'm going to respond to Nathan. This is why I don't do more than one person at a time.
I'm sorry.
All right. What does me having a brain freeze over remembering the name of the city Chattanooga have to do with Solomon and David?
Well, Solomon and David are not fiction. They are actually biblical characters, and both of them are actually black men to be.
Okay, so what does me having a brain freeze over not remembering the name of the city Chattanooga has to do with Solomon and David?
Because you recognize that you needed God to help you remember what you said. Like, there is a God.
I did not need God to help me remember that. You are making an unsubstantiated claim, sir.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like the brother said earlier, okay, you're entitled to the way you feel. Me and him, we're down with Jesus all the way. But at the end of the day, what if when you do leave this world and you are proven to be wrong? What would you say when you get there?
I don't know. I might be talking to Allah. I might be talking to Brahman. I might be talking to Krishna. I might be talking to the Great Turtle. I could be talking to the Sky People, or I could be talking to nothing.
Can I say this? And I'm going to listen to you again. I appreciate you. You're a very respectful man. And I appreciate my other brother as well. You all just give me just 60 seconds. When Moses met God on the mountain, he asked what was his name. He says, I am. Now follow me. Watch me very carefully. When Jesus came on the scene, the scribes and the Pharisees asked, who are you and by what authority do you preach and speak this? For we are Abraham's seed. And Jesus came back and says, before Abraham was, I am. And so then after that, when Lazarus died, the Bible says that he rose him from the grave, and he said to the world, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he die, yet shall he live, and those that liveth and believeth in me shall never die. So there's proof that,
sir, that's not proof.
With his son.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna stop you from preaching because I don't do preaching. That is one, that's a circular debate. Two, the Bible cannot be proof of itself. That is not evidence because somebody quoted something that somebody in the past said. That's not evidence because I can quote anything from anybody who wrote something from the past.
I believe that Jesus is real, and I appreciate you being very respectful. But the only thing, the question I want to raise with you is, when you leave this world and you really find out that he is the truth, the way, and the life, and that he is the Son of God, what will you do?
Okay, I'm going to humor you for a second. Even though Pascal's wager does not work at all. If I find out that when I leave this earth, that your biblical God is the true God, I'm going to have a whole bunch of questions as to what the fuck? Why are there so many contradictions? Why? I got a bunch of why questions. And then at the end of all of that, I still don't want to live with him. I don't want to go and be with this God. This guy is terrible, and it's even the conditions that he claims of heaven. I find those to be terrible as well.
I don't think you mean that.
No, I do. I mean that 100%. How you gonna tell, bro? How you gonna tell me how I what? No, Chewbacca. How you gonna tell me what? Nathan, can you mute yours?
Yes, sir. I will.
There's a lot of background. There's a lot of feedback.
Very smart intellectual.
But wait, Nathan. I mean Chewbacca. Chewbacca.
Yes.
Chewbacca. You cannot tell me, just like I can't tell you,
You're right.
how you feel or how you think about something, and what something is real or not.
You're right.
Okay, go ahead.
You're 100% correct. You're a very intellectual person. I say I have to come at you intellectually, not biblically. Okay, so you're probably into that ancient mystery system because that's where all the scientific knowledge comes from on Earth. It's just re-engineering old ancient knowledge. Nothing's new under the sun because everything that you see was already created. Electricity, car, all that. I know all that. I know where you're coming from. But now, you have an intellectual mind, correct?
I would think so.
Yes, you do. Okay, now it takes an intellectual mind to create an intellectual mind. So the thought of man gives man thought. It was the thought of man that gave man existence. So somebody had to think of man to create man. Man had to be a thought before he was formed. Your intellectual mind had to be thought by an intellectual mind to create an intellectual mind, because you can't get it from a rock.
Yes,
so there is a being, intellectual being that created you, because you wouldn't have intellect without an intellectual being having that thought to create an intellectual being. Can we agree on that?
No, we cannot.
Okay, so you came out of nothing and created your own
Nope,
intellectual mind.
nope. Never said that I came out of nothing. See, if intellectually, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transmuted from one form to another form. And depending upon based on the chemical reactions.
No. Energy,
Now, wait a minute. Did I just let you speak?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So we know through the laws of thermodynamics that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, and that energy transmutes from one form to another form to another form. In those creations of additional forms of energy, when different connections are made, chemical reactions occur. And through those chemical reactions, we get intellect, we get consciousness, we get awareness. And we see that at different levels of different animals and inanimate objects throughout our entire scope of knowledge right now. This is why we can see some of the great apes show empathy. We see animals figure out how to utilize tools. So, we see these things happen over time. We've done experiments that show where monkeys learn to wash their food. So gaining intelligence doesn't require an intelligence to do it or create it.
No. You just agree what I said. You said energy was created. Created by who?
No, sir. You didn't hear me. I said energy.
You said it out your mouth.
No, I didn't.
Energy was created.
No, I did not. I said energy.
Yes, you did.
Energy
was what?
Bruh.
Energy was what?
Bruh, I can't answer if you keep interrupting. What I said was energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It only transmutes from one form to the next form.
And then you said these levels of energy that were created. That's what you said. Now,
okay, understand when I say that energies are created.
Who created this subatomic particles?
No one, nothing. It's always been. And when new forms of energy are, and yes, that's where you're saying that. I see where you're getting. Yes, it is incredibly logical.
No, it's not.
But that I see where you're saying that I said created, and yes, created. That's just like me saying that when me and my. Oh my gosh, bro. Okay, you see, you're gonna get kicked off because you cannot stop talking. No, you cannot stop talking when I'm talking. I stop talking when you talk, but you just can't shut all the hells up when I talk, which is rude as fuck.
I think what he is basically saying is trying to come on your level to the point to where to get you to see that there is a creator who always existed behind everything that you know today, that he, in other words, at Johnson C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina, at the Mathematical and Science Building, before you go inside of it, it says all science points to a God. So basically what he's saying in so many words, hypothetically speaking, and you are very astute and a very well-rounded brother. And
absolutely.
For black, he's very, I appreciate it.
Yes, he is.
And, but what we were just trying to get you to understand it, it's just a debate. That's all. It's nothing personal, because at the end of the day, we're all black men living in this world.
Yes.
But what we're just trying to get you to see from our point of view, you don't have to agree with it. We're just trying to get you to see that we believe in God. We believe in the word of God. We believe that David and all of them existed, and that there is scientific proof at the bottom of the Red Sea. There are artifacts that Pharaoh's chariots are down there. There are horse bones that are down there.
I gotta hold you to a point of contention, because you said a bunch of things. The first thing is that I don't really give two rat's asses what a school building has on the front of it, because it's not like universities and school haven't been wrong throughout history. But there is no evidence that shows that anything has to be a creation. There has to be a creator to create for energy to exist. There's absolutely no evidence of. See, you see. Hold on for 1 second. I can't. You know what? You can't shut all the hells up. You don't have the respect of being on my show. Nathan knows how to let somebody talk just like I let him talk. So I appreciate Nathan. I had appreciation for Chewbacca, but now it's gone. Now, as far as so I want you to actually go and research those so-called chariot wheels and all those things found at the bottom of the Red Sea. You will find that they were claimed to have been found by a scam artist, and that he never actually discovered anything. There's never been any peer review of those so-called discoveries. He's made 51 other claims, and none of those claims have ever been peer reviewed or proven, and they have all actually been proven to be false. And it was basically a money grab. And the gentleman who claimed that he was an archaeologist who did it, he was actually a nurse, never did any digs. When he claimed he found the chariot wheels, he described the type of equipment that he used. The type of scuba equipment that he used cannot go to the depths to which he claimed. Him and his team would have died if they went down there. So this person's name is Ron Wyatt. That is where those come from. It has all been debunked 51 million times.
Well, within my seminary experience at United Theological Seminary in Dayton, Ohio, there are times when the actual students go to the Holy Land, and we actually do biblical research and walk in the footsteps of David and Solomon and all of these other biblical characters that actually existed, and there are artifacts that they lived and that they were there. Of course, through time, as time passes by, and years go by, decades go by, artifacts will eventually either deteriorate or fade away. But I think what the other brother was saying in so many words is that just because you didn't see it doesn't actually mean that it didn't exist. And so, God is like faith. He doesn't force himself on anybody. He lets us choose.
Don't start preaching. So when did you take these trips to Israel?
What I'm saying is
When?
it's powerful that you plug my car because I am a preacher.
Okay. When did you? So I refused my scholarship to seminary because I don't know about yours, but the one that was the three that I was given an opportunity to go to, they required me to sign a document that said that no matter what I discover, I'm going to still support the doctrine of the seminary. Did you have to do that?
I didn't have to do that. I do know, basically, to what you were saying to somewhat degree, in seminary, it is based upon theology, artifacts of a theologian who has spent either their life or their whole entire life studying the Holy Land and bringing back artifacts and putting it into a commentary.
Okay.
So yeah, you are pretty much on the right track when it comes to that. But dealing with seminary itself, it broadens your thinking of the historical Christ and the Word of God. And so, to make a long story short, like I was saying, everyone has a choice whether to believe in God or not. Or
come on, let's stick with the facts, Nathan. Let's stick with facts.
Okay.
So when did you go to Israel?
No, what I'm saying is in seminary, there are students and theologians that actually I hadn't been yet.
Oh, okay. I thought that was part of the program. That's why you were saying it.
It is once you get into like maybe you are right. Once you get into, I think you're about either your second or your final year dealing with your master's of divinity. So yes, sir. But basically what I'm saying is, I do believe in the Word of God, and I really do appreciate you respecting my belief as well as I respect your belief. But at the end of the day, that's what I was saying about faith. Faith is basically
you're gonna try to get that in there, ain't you? You're trying to get it. But okay, this is the reason why I asked you about when you went to Israel, because I've been there twice, 8 weeks at a time. And the fact of the matter is that many of the artifacts that people claim, when you go there, you'll go to like the church on top of Mount Calvary, right? Where they say this is the spot where Jesus was crucified, and then you walk about 30 feet and they'll say this is where he was buried, right? And it's just it's a big enclosure inside of the church, and they got a slab on there with a bunch of candles and stuff. But at the same time, you go out to outside the old walls, and then there's the garden tomb. And at the garden tomb, they say this is where Jesus was buried. This is the tomb that Joseph of Arimathea gave to Jesus, which turns out that that's an Iron Age ossuary, and then a gravesite, not ossuary, but Iron Age gravesite. And then the one that was at Calvary, when you actually look at the culture back in that day, there's absolutely no way there would have been burial sites right there next to where the they claim that he was crucified on top of Calvary. Now it is Calvary, the hill is Calvary. And then when you dig deeper into it, you find out that in 300, right around in the mid 300s, well, early 300s really, around 318, 319, Helena, Constantine's mother, went down to Jerusalem. The people said that's Calvary, and she just built the church there and said this is the spot. There's zero archaeology that shows that that's the spot. Zero that shows that this is the actual tomb of Joseph of Arimathea in any of the 3 locations that they claim to be a tomb. When you go to where they say this is Abraham's grave, in I think it's Machpelah, they just say it's somewhere around here. They don't know where it's at. So most of the stuff there is a tourist trap of places. Some of it is authentic to the story, like the pool of Bethesda. That was the pool of it starts with an E, not Epiphanes, Euripides, the pool of Euripides. And the ancients, the Romans used to believe, the Romans and Greeks thought that you can get healed because Euripides was a healing god. So you do have that pool, but there's no evidence of Jesus healing anybody at that pool. So a lot of these things. So what's the artifacts?
At the Pool of Siloam is where Jesus healed the man that was paralyzed for 38 years when the angel would come down, and at the movement of the water, whoever jumped in first, they were healed. But Jesus pretty much demonstrated to the world that all we really needed was him and belief in him and trusting in him.
You preaching. We're talking about artifacts. I understand what the message is about at the pool. I've never heard it called the Pool of Siloam. You know what? Okay, so the Pool of Bethesda and the pool. No, okay, you're right. Pool of Siloam is where he healed the blind man.
Yeah, the man that was paralyzed as well, because he laid there for 38 years in his condition, but because he didn't have the strength of the power.
You got that backwards, man. The Pool of Bethesda is where he healed the paralyzed man. The Pool of Siloam is where he healed the blind man.
Yes, that's right. Because he was blind, right. Jesus put clay on his eyes.
Right. That's the Pool of Siloam.
So, but what I was saying is, to make a long story short, basically, is like I said, I appreciate who you are and what you are. You're very astute, brother. But far as me at the end of the day, even if I don't ever meet you in life, I will always respect you for who you are and what you believe in, because you have to respect one's belief. And I agree. So, I just believe that the Word of God is the Word of God. I believe that Abraham, Adam, and Eve, all of them biblically existed. And I do believe that Jesus is the Christ and that he rose from the grave on the 3rd day. I believe that. I truly believe that in my heart. So, I just wanted to say I appreciate you for having me on the show, and I really do appreciate, and I hope in the future, you and I could continue to pretty much talk about the journey of existence and life and Bible and all that great stuff. But I just wanted to let you know, appreciate you, and that, I am definitely down with Jesus Christ all the way.
And I can appreciate that. And I agree with you that if I ever met you, I would greet you with, a brotherly hug and everything, because I respect whatever you believe. My podcast though is about facts. So that's why I don't argue belief. And that's why I don't do the not preaching part is not like me trying to shut you down or nothing. It's just that belief can't be argued. Faith can't be argued, because that's just what a person, that's something inside of a person, of their emotions and thoughts and whatever they claim to have created that faith. Can't argue that. I have faith in my kids. You can't argue the faith in my kids, right? So, but that's why I try to stick to what we can prove. What's evidence that we have that's provable?
And you are right, and you're right. And I see the comments, people saying his mother never called him Jesus. His name is Yeshua, like you say, Allah. Some people are using the Allah, Yeshua.
Yeah.
God has many names, but like I was saying, I just believe that Jesus is the Christ. He's the way to God, the truth, and the life. And so at the end of the day, like you just said, I can meet you in life. We can dab it up, shake hands, and I'm still going to love you from one black man to another black man in the society. We just have different beliefs, but you still should be able to love your brother, shake your brother's hand, eat at the same table with your brother, and break bread with your brother, and just appreciate who he is, even though y'all have two different beliefs. You can still show that in what I believe, that Christ-like love for everyone, regardless to what they believe in and what kind of faith they have in life. So
I got a mission for you. And this is one of the reasons why I started this channel. One of the reasons why I started this channel, well, the secondary reason that I started this channel is the fact that I started discovering a lot of people who have decided not to be Christian anymore. They born into a Christian family, were Christian, they walked away from it. Their families treat them like an outcast. Their families disengage from them. Their families think they're evil, treat them harshly, kick some of them out the house when they're young. As a pastor, what can you do about that without forcing the person to come back into the religion, but still have that brotherly love, family love?
It's crazy that you plugged my car, because yes, I know I'm going to preach on a pastor as well. It's just crazy. So I guess you can hear it in me. What you're supposed to do is love people where they are and just live the life. You don't have to force the Bible on people. Once you have ministered, and whether they will accept it or they are rejected, that's free will. But at the end of the day, you're still supposed to love that human being, and we're supposed to love one another to the end. So you continue to live the life. Treat that person with kindness. If they hungry, feed them. If they want something to drink, give them something to drink. If you're able to put a coat on their body, go buy them a coat if they don't have it. I mean, that's the love of God. So I just truly believe at the end of the day, regardless to one's walk, what we believe under the principles of Christ and with him being our Savior and Lord, we're supposed to love everyone, regardless to how they treat us, make fun of us, how they talk about us, even if they even try to attack us. We're supposed to still have that unconditional love. And if they come to us and say, hey, listen, I'm sorry, I apologize, I didn't mean to cuss you out because you was trying to minister to me, or I apologize for putting my hands on you. We're required to forgive. If we want to be forgiven by God, we got to also forgive the others when they wrong us as well.
Okay, and you gonna preach that in your church?
I do. I preach love. Yes.
Okay,
Sir.
I'm just saying, because a lot of people, they walk away from the religion, then they get disowned by their family. It didn't happen to me. My family was like, they tried to understand. We talked about it, even had some arguments about it from time to time, but the family bond never ceased. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was lucky. I didn't know how lucky I was until I started doing this. I was lucky to have a family that said we believe in love before we believe in religion. Right. But a lot of people that I deal with, they don't get that. And so I would imagine wherever you are, there are a lot of people who don't get that, and their families are treating them like trash. So I'm tasking you, sir, to spread the message through Christianity in your Christian churches and surrounding, to get these families to stop treating their other family members like trash simply because they don't believe what they believe.
And so the thing is, when you accept Christ as Lord and Savior, one thing that I've learned is that Jesus said, if the world hates you, remember it hated me first. No servant is greater than his master. If they do these things to me, they'll do them to you too. So we must understand that when we do come to him and we accept him as Lord and Savior, that doesn't mean that you're going to be saved from trials and tribulations. That doesn't mean that you're not going to go through anything. But the blessed hope that you have is that he is the Savior of the world, the risen King, and that there is a life beyond this life called the kingdom of heaven. And, the trials and tribulations we go through, that's the enemy, the devil, right?
You're starting to preach, man. You're starting to preach. But, I have a time limit, so
Okay.
so let me get a couple more people on before I have to get off here and go to the gym.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's nice meeting you, and I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on your show.
I appreciate you too, Nate.
Yes, sir.
See, I would have kept Chewbacca on here if he wouldn't have stopped interrupting all the goddamn time. Me and Nathan had a nice conversation. And I don't mind having conversation, even if we disagree. But what we agree upon most is that people supposed to still love each other. IG.
What's up, Wo? How y'all doing?
Doing great.
So,
Doing great.
I think that Adam and Eve happened. Let me tell you how I think it happened, right? I think that when they says that God took the rib off of Adam into Eve, I believe it was cloning. And I think that Eve is the first transhuman female, because when you take the rib out of somebody, that's RNA information. And I think that they were cloning according to, they're supposed to have technology more advanced. So I think they was cloning. So to me, Eve is the very first transhuman woman, because in order for you to be a biological female, you have to be born a little girl first, then you have to go through puberty. So the only way that I think Adam and Eve, I think they had ancient trannies. I think they had. I
Okay.
think,
Now, you know
yeah,
what? You
yeah, yeah.
wait,
I think that's what it is.
wait,
I think
wait,
Eve.
wait a minute.
Yeah,
Wait a minute, IG. For the people on
yeah,
TikTok who don't know IG,
yeah.
this is satire. Okay. He is not saying that he believes this. You have to, if you've been following my show long enough, you will get used to the fact that IG gonna say some crazy shit, and it's satire. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Because these
Look,
people on TikTok going off on you.
I mean, hey. I mean, it ain't my fault that the Bible says that the first vagina was made from all penis-derived ingredients. That's not my fault. The only way that I can take the Bible like Christians do, they take what happened back in the day, you heard me, and they go ahead and apply it today. The only way, because there's no animal that's born completely I'm sorry, that's born completely in maturation, right? I've never seen nothing born male or female that come out with their gonads fully developed. I have never seen it. So the only way you can become instant ramen woman is for you to do some medical and synthetic transition. So I believe that Adam and Eve was actually the first non-binary couple. Because when you think about it, right? See, Adam is non-binary, because in order for God to be able to take out the rib, I think that's why he was able to separate the feminine, because Adam had the bitch in, I'm sorry, the feminine in him already, because Adam was non-binary.
Have you ever
And
heard the
mhm,
guys, they talk about how Adam was androgynous?
I have heard that before.
You heard that one, that they say
Yeah,
Adam was androgynous, and that's why they was able to create a
yeah.
woman out of him, because he had, and there was some that say
Mhm.
that Adam was a hermaphrodite.
Yeah, I can see that. Wait, intersex.
Mm-hmm. He was,
Yeah,
oh, that's what
yeah.
that's called now.
Yeah, I think they call it inter. I think, yeah, intersex. Yeah, I think that's the more medical term, hermaphrodite.
Look, I'm a
My
product
stu-
of my generation. I try to keep
my,
up.
look, my stupid ass used to say hermaphrodite, not dite.
So
You
it's
know what I'm saying?
intersex now, not hermaphrodite.
Intersex. Mhm.
I can't keep up with all these. Well, I can, but good gracious. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna jump off here. So Yeah, basically, y'all know I don't believe, but I'm just saying, I think the only way I'm gonna do like the Christians do. So how y'all gonna have something to say about, gays, trannies, and what's natural, and y'all think that the first pussy came from all derived ingredients? Men and women don't. A man, I've not seen even gay males. I don't see too many males that could be inside the mind of a female, but yet you gonna tell me that the first female came from a nigga? I'm sorry, from a man? That don't work like that.
Bye.
That don't work like that. Bye.
Bye. Joke. Okay, so for y'all who never heard, IG is he's special. Loving the life. Joke is special. Oh, and I meant that when dude said he took the rib out of Adam, I meant to go like, okay, so why we not missing a rib? Where's my missing rib? Why I got all my ribs? Shouldn't I be missing one? Joseph, I'm getting down to the wire, so we're gonna make these quick. Joseph Benjamin.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't catch the last part you said. Something about the wire.
Yeah, I'm getting down to the wire before I get off here. So I'm gonna make them. So I'm gonna try to hit these last few quick. What you got, Joseph?
Oh no, I just got a question.
Sure.
So if 99, first of all, that last guy is hilarious. Ancient trannies.
IG got problems, man. He got problems.
Super troll. But funny man. So my question to you is, if 99% of the Bible never happened, what's the 1% of the Bible that did?
So historically, what we can prove that the Bible mentions are certain kings and certain other people after 722 BCE. So that people like Hezekiah, Jehoiakim, Mesha, Darius, we can identify that those people actually existed. Certain cities, Jerusalem, certain countries, Egypt, all those places, we can demonstrate it's acceptable that when the Bible speaks that those places existed, The stories around them, that's where the problem comes in. And then anything before Hezekiah, there's no proof, there's no concrete proof that any of those people existed or those events happened. And there's actually more proof that those things didn't happen.
So you're more so the opinion that basically the locations are real. Yeah, Egypt exists. It still exists today, or whatever it was called back then, Kemet, I think, or whatever. Israel exists and exists today, or all these. So, but the actual stories behind these these locations are basically, from your perspective, fable, or for the most part.
Well, from the science of historicity and archaeology, no, they don't. The stories never happen. And in some of them, the places that they named and people that they dealt with never happened.
That's an interesting take. I've never heard an atheist say across the board that those stories that not anything in the Bible is remotely true. Not a single thing outside of the locations themselves, for the most part, and maybe certain kings here and there that you can corroborate with, I guess, some archaeological evidence. That is a very, in my opinion, a radical take, considering that at least from this, some of the research that I've done, quite a few people who don't have much of a stake in saying that the Bible is real, meaning excluding those people who have identified as themselves Christian. Even some of them would say, there's, these things are interesting. There's some evidence. It might not be as much. It might not be as smoking gun as we would like it to be. It's very ancient times. But even they would say that to some degree that there may be some truth. They would at least go as far as saying there may be some truth. It's likely, but we don't have super hard concrete evidence. Like, for example, an emperor's face on a coin from 2,000 years ago, where we can say, oh yeah, that emperor existed because his face is on the coin. We don't have a whole lot of that evidence. So, but even they wouldn't go as far as you're saying that none of it never happened. So I think that's a more radical. And I've spoken to a lot of atheists, and they say, yeah, there's some things here, you know, some atheists, you know, archaeologists, atheist scientists, whatever. Even they would say, historians, they would say, oh yeah, okay, Jesus, he at least existed. They might have accepted that he's been the savior of all, or whatever the case may be, but they'll say he existed. But even you would take the position that he never did, or he's an amalgamation of different Jesuses before himself. So you take a more extreme radical approach that I've noticed.
It's not extreme, because when you as you know, because you've been around my show for a minute, as you know, I dig into the root of why things happen, the culture of things that happen. One of the problems that I have with a lot of these biblical historians who don't believe like in Jesus is I look at where do they work and where does their money come from? Because, you know, as we always say, if you follow the money, you can find the truth. So although I respect a lot of the work that Bart Ehrman has done, for example, one of the problems with Bart Ehrman is that he is dependent upon the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. As the dean over religious studies, he can't necessarily just come out and say Jesus never existed as a historical character, because the overwhelming majority of his students under his deanship are Christian. And that wouldn't play well. If he came out and said that, Chapel Hill will fire him or force him to retire. Where you have people like Stofalova, I can't say her name right, so I try not to say it. Stofalova, she's not beholden to any organization. So she says Jesus never existed because she's not beholden to an organization. So it's not radical. It's actually more and more people are more and more who are not beholden. They come out and say, no, Jesus never existed. No, Abraham never existed. Matter of fact, there's an anachronism in dealing with Abraham that shows that he could not have existed, and the story's all jacked up. You know the story when Abraham pimps out Sarah to Amalek?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of messed up, but yes.
It is a messed up story. But Amalek was a Philistine king, right? The time frame of
I said, okay, I'm listening.
The time frame of Abraham is somewhere around 2200 BCE. The Philistines didn't exist in the Levant in 2200 BCE. So what the writers of the story did was take something that was familiar to them when they was writing this story, most likely after the 8th century, and more than likely down into the 6th century. They're writing this story about Abraham because they know Philistines exist at their time frame. They wrote this story into Abraham's story, but that anachronism can't work because Philistines didn't exist during the time frame of Abraham as a people group. So then the whole story is bumped. Then you continue to study it and you start to find out more and more of the story has issues that don't fit what we actually know about history. So yeah, I go to the point of saying that he didn't exist.
Okay.
And there's no artifacts for Abraham either. Like they claim that his burial site was, he bought some Edomite land, and I think it was Machpelah. I might be wrong about where it is, but for some reason they can't find a grave. There's no cave where they found a grave, and that grave should have at least 4 bodies in it. Where's the grave? He just like the German archaeologists followed the trail of what was written in the Iliad, and he found the city of Troy. When you do the same thing with the Bible, you don't find where Abraham was buried. You don't find any evidence of anybody before Hezekiah when you follow the Bible. So until there's now, if evidence ever comes up, I will happily change my statements. If we found a tomb in the mountain region where Abraham was supposed to be buried with Sarah, Jacob, and what's the one with had the lazy eye? Bilhah, not Bilhah. What's the sister name? Not Rachel, because Rachel was buried on the side of the road. What's his Leah? Leah. If there was 4 bodies in a cave, the remains of 4 bodies or something in that area, I would say there's a possibility that there was a dude named Abraham. But we can't even find that. And that wouldn't prove it because we wouldn't be able to know it is Abraham unless there's some inscription in the cave that says, here lies Abraham, Jacob, Leah, and Sarah. Well, they probably wouldn't name the women because, they don't name women that often in the Bible.
That's true.
But I would then say, okay, Abraham existed. Does that mean the stories of Abraham happened? We still got to investigate that. But at least I would say that there's a possibility of Abraham. Like that's why on here where I put David established Israel, there's a possibility that there was a dude named David who was well known enough to have established a house of David. And back then, everybody was a house of somebody, right? Like you would be from the house of Benjamin because of your ancestors. But with the Tel Dan Stela saying that these kings were killed and they were from the house of David, it doesn't tell us what status was David. What did he have a united Israel kingdom? Was he could have been a chieftain, he could have been a warlord, especially the time of David would have been during the Bronze Age collapse. And that area was all war torn during that time frame with a bunch of different groups trying to take over. And it certainly wouldn't prove Goliath. So I'm open. It ain't completely closed, but we just got to have the evidence.
So does this lack of evidence in the Bible, in addition to the stories possibly being manufactured, let's say for whatever purpose, political, ideological, sociological, whatever, does that disprove for you the existence of a God, as in these people in the Bible got it wrong, therefore what God could there possibly be?
No, it wasn't the Bible that made me say that there was no God. I can go on the record saying that. And I've been doing this for about 15 years now. So if you were to go back and look at a video I did 10 years ago, I was saying that there possibly is a God. It's just not the God of the Bible. That ain't it. And so so of course, after I realized that for me, when I said the God of the Bible is not God, I went on a search for God at that point. So of course, the natural thing to do is to study all the other major religions, study the ancient religions, and see if I can find God somewhere within all of that. The closest I've ever gotten was in studying Hermeticism.
That is.
Yeah. Doriel's book, don't read that one. That one sucks. It don't suck, but it leaves out a lot. And he's making some false claims in Doriel's Emerald Tablets. That's not Hermeticism in its totality. The Corpus Hermeticum, which is a very large volume, that's Hermeticism, closer to the Hermeticism that was taught to the Greeks by the Egyptians. And for a while I thought, okay, the Hermetic sense of ideal of God could be the God, or even the Gnostic view of God could be the God.
And what was their general, if you could summarize, what was their general idea or summary of God? I know it's a lot, but if you could unpack it and say this was what they generally thought of what a God is to exist, if he were to exist.
So both Gnosticism and Hermeticism pretty much teach that God is just a conscious brain that created simply because it created. No, it's not a good God, it's not a bad God, it just creates and just exists without the interference into people's lives and all that sort of thing, and just set forth the rules of the universe, of how the universe functions, and then just let it ride. The problem with the Emerald Tablets is that it gets into all the, well, you can manipulate this God in the Emerald Tablets. So that's, but a con man wrote that book. So that's another reason why I don't like that. Doriel was a con man. But the idea of God is just a being of consciousness that just created the universe. There's no judgment, no heaven nor hell. It's just being, energy.
So I guess my last question would be, do you think, let me think, how do I want to say this? There's a way, damn it. That was good. In your studying and looking for evidence of God, since you came to the conclusion that, the Bible is pretty much 99% false, except for the 1% that you described to me earlier. When you read all the other different religious texts, including the Hermeticism text that you was reading, is it possible that in you reading or looking for God or an explanation for the existence of a God of some kind, that the looking for that in some sort of intellectual, conscious way could be in itself a flawed premise? Meaning, for example, if I was to read a book about your father, I could have some sort of general understanding of him, but you having a real personal relationship with him, an emotional one, one that's much more than just my father was born this year, his birthday was on this day, he had this XYZ, like a fact sheet. I could have that fact sheet just as much as you can, but the difference between you and I will be you have something more than just a conscious relationship with him. There's some sort of emotional, internal connection with this man that you call your father. Would you say that in your attempt to search for what is God in all these different texts is akin to trying to look for a rap sheet of the existence of God versus looking for a relationship in a sense that you would have with your own father on this earth?
Yes. So I went through that as well. Because I did. So what people don't realize is that 99% of the time when I talk about something, I've questioned myself, devil's advocate myself, through the process. I don't just go with, this is what I want it to be, so this is what it's going to be. So when I was going through that process, one of the things is two things. On the scientific level, there was no evidence of anything proving the existence of a conscious mind at work.
Not even a golden ratio?
Nope.
It's pretty brilliant.
The golden ratio is an amazing thing, but it just shows us how the universe is. It just shows us, it just gives us an understanding of the universe. But when and the relationship thing was very important, but then when I delve into the psychology of relationships, so my studies went well beyond just archaeology. I also studied psychology for, a good long period of time. About 8-9 years I studied psychology and studied as many different variations of psychology as I possibly could. And what I came to realize is that in order to have a relationship with anything, I have to have an existence with that thing. So without a proof of existence of that being, then what I'm calling a relationship with Jesus, God, any God, is really my own personal emotions, my own personal thoughts. It's really just a relationship with me and me trying to think on a higher level, on a higher conscious level. So I'm not really talking to a God outside of myself. I'm really just talking to a higher thought process within myself. Because I gotta have, in order for me to have a relationship with you, I gotta know you. How can I know a God there is no proof nor evidence of his existence so that I can have this relationship So everything that I'm feeling is just my own personal feelings. This is why everybody who claims they have a relationship with God, that God is always exactly how they are, you know, how they perceive it, how they deal with it, which is what creates 11 different denominations and all these different religions.
I wish I could agree that God is how we perceive him to be, but even I could speak, and I won't. It's not the time nor place. But some things that, yeah, let's just say things I would want to be, I can be checked, and I have been checked, and kind of reined in. It's like, nah, this is not how it's going to go down. But if I wanted things to go my way, like this is what I want to do, this is where I want to go, I wouldn't have this being outside of myself. I mean, it has to be, because it's like, oh, I love ice cream. I could eat it all day if I could. But then there's something outside of myself going like, nah. That's not good for you. You get diabetes, you get overweight, you get fat, and all these other things. That's more in alignment with what a relationship with God would look like, in a similar way that if you had a good father who cared about you and your well-being, he wouldn't.
I mean to cut you off because I'm getting short on time.
No, go ahead.
Is that really something outside yourself, or is that just the fact that you already have the embedded knowledge that you know you can't eat that high caloric, high dairy, high fat ice cream all the time because you know what the results of that is going to be? That is cause and effect. That's no 99% of the time is cause and effect. And then when there is effect that we don't know the causation, we tend to give that to luck, chance, or a miracle, or a God. And Hermeticism teaches that as well. It's called the law of cause and effect. And honestly, if you look at how religions are created, it's because there are causations, there are effects where the people didn't know the causation. And so they attributed it to some God force or something. Yeah. We don't know why that asteroid just crashed into this place. Oh, so we're going to say that God did it. The volcano erupted. We don't know why. We're going to say God did it. And people still do that. Katrina hit. I was just watching, me and my wife were watching this little documentary about Katrina the other day. What do people say? What were people saying? God is punishing them. Come on, man. We know hurricanes come every damn year. And we know they didn't build them levees right.
Yeah.
We know the cause and effect.
God.
But because people believe they have this relationship with God, they think that they can speak out and say, well, God didn't like the evil that was going on in that city. If that was the case, right. But if that was the case, hurricanes should be blasting the shit out of a whole bunch of places.
Vegas, for one, it's costing city. Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that.
Yeah, but I gotta go, man. I would love to continue this, but my wife is right outside my garage. Because it's time for us to go to the gym. I gotta get this back fat off. Cause and effect. Go to the gym. If I don't go to the gym, I'm gonna stay. This belly ain't going nowhere without the cause and effect of doing some working out and eating right.
Cause and effect.
Yep. And if I don't stretch, this pain in my back don't go nowhere. But I'll be back on tomorrow. Around 2 o'clock, 2:30 Eastern. I mean Central Standard Time, because I'm in hot ass Texas.
So that's 4 or something Eastern, something like that.
No, I'm only 1 hour ahead of Eastern. So around 3:30. 3:30. Yeah.
And what's the topic?
I'm supposed to be done at 5. But I appreciate you, Joseph. I got it right this time. Last time I ain't say your name right. But appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Look at that. We ended the show with 2 good, peaceful, grown men conversation. I know a lot of other people want to get on. I always end my show right around 5 o'clock. My wife is right outside, so I got to go. I love my wife more than I love y'all, but I'll be back here tomorrow between 2 and 2:30 Central Standard Time. I want to thank everybody who participated in the show today, even the ones who got on my nerves. I definitely appreciate the men and women who come on here and we have a great conversation, a respectful conversation. All right. As the host, I'm going to stop people in the middle of lists so that we can go point for point and not get thrown way the fuck off. But respect the channel, respect the host. And so thank you everybody who supports the channel through gifts and super chats and all that stuff, and who shares the videos. Thank you guys very much. And as I've always said before, and I hope Nathan is still listening, definitely one of the things that we need is pastors to tell their congregations to stop treating the people who walk away from this religion as if they're a pariah. You can't get nobody into heaven but yourself if you believe in heaven. You can't send nobody to hell but yourself if you believe in hell. And that's the conversation tomorrow, is about heaven and hell, or about hell and the devil. So if you are a Christian, and even though love your neighbor is not what they meant back then, but what it means today in most church doctrines is to love everybody, treat everybody exactly the same way you want to be treated. So if you are in a Democratic family and you switched over to Republican, you shouldn't disown that family member. If you're a Republican and you got a Democratic family member, you shouldn't disown that person. However it goes, nationhoods, race, gender, all that shit. Right? This world would be a much better place if we just showed everybody the same respect that we wish that we had for ourselves. And so I'm charging every Christian to actually demonstrate that. All right. So everybody always remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And we're getting out of here today. My wife is outside, sitting in the air conditioning.